Test, 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 test. Should be getting started in just a moment here, just getting organized. Test, 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 test. Okay. Okay, just gotta fix that chat 1 second, sorry. Okay, there it is. Oh, hey, Outheard. Hey, Kakuzu and Holidays. Hope you're doing okay today. Thanks for showing up at the the new stream time. Let me know what you think of this time of day. I gotten a couple of comments from people saying that they were in, damn it, sorry, in different time zones and whatnot, and that this might be a more comfortable time. So yeah, I definitely want to hear your feedback. Let me know what you think. But yeah, how have you been doing? Have you had a good week? Howard says, I want in on this VC. Okay. Sounds good. So if you don't mind being patient with me for the first like 5 or 10 minutes, I can try and set things up in VC. Obviously I do have, you've gotten an invite to the server, right? If so, I should be able to just set up the reactive images and we should be able to jump right in. Hey, Mr. Narrative. Hey, Egg Prophet. How's it going, guys? Thank you so much for stopping by. Yeah, I think, was it Egg Prophet and I had a conversation in comments a little while ago about maybe shifting the schedule around on Sundays, because I know some people are in, like Kakuzu and Holidays, right? Like you were, you were in a time zone where you were watching like 2 in the morning or something like that, right? So I figured I would try this time slot, see how it works for people. I'm generally free most of the day on Sundays, apart from having to take care of my dog and stuff like that, but so slightly easier at night, because my partner will take care of the dog for me, but during the day it's not that big of a deal as long as I plan around it. Maybe I'll be a little more lucid too. Correct. Okay, yep. So what I had done previously is I had set up the Discord server, and then I have bookmarked somewhere this reactive image over here. And so what I can try to do is to jump into Discord and see if we can get the VC up. I'm totally happy to do the VC one way or another. As for what I wanted to try to do is get those reactive images up so that, you know, I'd be able to show who's talking actively, and I'm not sure if I have that working yet. But if you don't mind me like taking 5 minutes to test it out and see if I can figure it out, then yeah, that'd be great. But let me hop into VC. Does everybody here have an invite for the server if you'd like one? I haven't done the boost yet, so I don't have the general invite link, but if you send me your Discord name, I'd be happy to send you an invite. And then I'm just going to jump into the general voice chat channel in the Roost Discord server and see if I can get that working in the meantime. So I'm here, I'm just being quiet while I'm clicking around with stuff. 1 sec. Okay. You come by later? Yeah, sure, no problem. I'm going to start talking about the main topic soon regardless, and then if people want to jump in at any point, we can set some time aside to have that conversation. But yeah, the just while I'm figuring this stuff out here, the 1 second. Let's try and put that away. So the topic of the stream will be continuing to react to that Noodles video, but for the most part, I wanted to start by talking about the general topic of speed blitzing and the term blitz and what that means, because it's something that has come up in quite a few debates, and I think we all have a general, like, intuitive understanding of what it means. But when I went to actually look up the definitions, I found that I personally was a little bit off the mark in terms of what the definition actually was, which then led me to feel like the definitions that I've heard in debates and such have not always been accurate either. And so I wanted to try to make sure that, like, to share the definition with you all and to kind of submit my understanding of it to make sure that my understanding is correct, and hear your guys' feedback on that. And then move on to then apply that to the Kakazu versus Pain discussion to see if the claim that Kakashi was consistently blitzing Kakuzu is true. Or Kakuzu was... Did I say Kakuzu blitzing Kakashi? I meant to say Kakuzu blitzing Kakashi. So, okay, so now it looks like my voice is coming through in the general VC, and it's animating that image correctly. So I think the way that this plugin is supposed to work is that when other people join the group VC, that their icons should also appear. And so I'll try to get that set up. But even if we don't have the visual representation, I will still, have... you guys are welcome to jump into VC if you like. Feel free to just send me a message in chat first. Let me know that you're stopping by. And if anybody needs an invite to the server and would like that, please let me know, and I will send one over and we can see if we can get this going. And thanks in advance for your patience as I work out the kinks with the process. And I'll just type that out as well in case anybody stops by later. Okay. With that being said, Mr. Narrative says, yeah, I want to join VC. Okay, great. I think, are you in the servers? I think I sent you an invite, right? So let me see. In general, yeah, it says that you're here, Mr. Narrative. Do you have permissions to be able to just click and join on the general channel? I think it'll just add you to the conversation. Oh, but no rush. So while people are are trickling in, I can start off by talking about why I have this feat on. Oh yeah, there you go. Hey, Mr. Narrative, can you hear me on Discord?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. So I'm gonna actually lower my music so I can hear you better, and then we can get started. How are you doing? What's new?
I'm good. Woke up like an hour ago, so
Oh wow.
all right. But
Um,
chilling.
what time is it where you are? If you feel comfortable sharing.
Uh, 2 p.m. I'm in the East Coast,
Oh,
East
okay, gotcha.
Standard
Yeah,
Time.
same for me too. Oh yeah, it looks like the image worked as well. Can you just say something random?
Random,
Perfect.
random.
Okay, yeah, it's lighting up. Cool. All right, that was way easier than I thought it would be. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So, do you have any general thoughts on speed blitzing or anything you wanted to get off your chest before I start yapping about it?
Yeah. I don't even like. So when I ever hear Speed Blitz in a debate, I usually think like, okay, this character like has a feat where they like literally just outsped him in a way where it's like they couldn't either they didn't see them coming or they couldn't react or like let's say that say for example right Naruto versus Sasuke. Sasuke they're fighting right and
Mm-hmm.
then Naruto just like punches him in the face and Sasuke like had clear visual on him but no matter what Sasuke could not stop it,
Yep.
right? And also like it also varies on reaction speed as well cuz it's like I think I remember where I think it was in the Final Fight of Shippuden where Sasuke used the Amaterasu. I think Naruto baited him into using Amaterasu, and Naruto was able to shield his hand with the QB chakra, which made
Okay.
him which made Sasuke waste his chakra on him, which Naruto baited him into doing that. So, would that be a speed blitz? Probably not, since it was like
Probably
more
not. Yeah.
orchestrated, right?
Yeah, because that's involving anticipation and baiting and stuff like that. So it might actually be helpful. What I was trying to decide whether or not to start with the actual text definition or go into the Haku fight, but I'm sure that you've heard people mention versus battles wiki or character stats and profiles wiki
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, so my understanding is that this is the source that a lot of people will get the terms from and like the power scaling tiers. So like when people say mountain level or planetary or whatever, they're referring to the standard planets and mountains and whatever that have already been determined by places like this, right?
Yes, when people debate like versus battles in general, that's where we all like have common ground, and that's where we all use our definitions. That's where standard battle assumptions are made, all that shit, so that we have
Yeah.
an understanding what we're talking about,
Yeah, exactly. And it makes perfect sense to try to keep everything like on the level and make sure that everybody's coming from the same place in terms of the terms they're using and stuff like that. Because after all, right, this is us as fans of a given manga or whatever media coming together and trying to have like a like a reasonable and fair constructed conversation with a set of rules that we try to stick to. Obviously, it doesn't always work out that way, and people can be kind of fluid with whether or not they want to stick to the rules or use house rules or whatever. But if we don't have
Yeah.
like some kind of shared common understanding, like you said, then it becomes very difficult to just have to make any progress in a conversation because everybody's just making up their own version of terms and stuff like that.
Yeah, that goes without saying, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so just to make sure that like it's not just me coming off of like the top of my head or whatever, I wanted to start with what the definition of the speed blitz of a speed blitz is, as determined by my elders and betters, so to speak, in the community, and then we can kind of go from there and then try to apply it to conversations about the specific matchup. Oh, one sec, I got a message from Kakuzu and Holidays. 6 p.m. Morocco and 7 in France. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yep. So you're actually moving later than by going back home. Is that right? There's also a difference between speed blitz and perception blitz. Yeah. So
That's true.
that's a very good point. Yeah. So the idea here being that let's just read like the first couple lines of this. A speed blitz is the act of one attacking their opponent before they are capable of perceiving or reacting to them. So it's important to note that the speed blitz, like umbrella term itself, includes both your opponent cannot perceive the attack and also both cannot react to the attack, right? Blitzing, and I think this goes to what you were just saying, Mr. Narrative. Blitzing is different than outpacing, where a character is simply faster than the other. A blitz is more like an all-around outclassing in speed. And so the examples that you used with like Naruto baiting out Sasuke wouldn't necessarily be a speed blitz if it was something that Sasuke could technically perceive, like it's within his physical ability to do so, but Naruto just set it up, like laid the bait, so to speak, and then Sasuke fell for it. Is that kind of what you were saying?
Yeah, I think a more better example of a speed blitz would be like in their first fight in Final Valley, where Naruto goes QB and then Sasuke just can't do anything against Naruto
Yeah.
until he gets the third Tomo. Like Naruto just outclasses him in speed. Like there's nothing Sasuke can literally do. Like it's over, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That I think I think that's a perfect example. So I want to go on just a little bit here. One somewhat similar example of a blitz in real life would be a person getting shot. As the bullet moves at such a fast pace, the victim is unable to react to or even see the bullet coming at them. So again, there's an emphasis on not being able to perceive the thing and then also not being able to react to the thing, right? So I would encourage anybody who wants to learn more about this, I'll post this in chat. Feel free to go to the actual source and read it directly. But before we get into Naruto, I think it'd be useful to look at that bullet example because there is some nuance to that as well. So have you guys, well, Mr. Narrative, have you seen The Matrix? Do you care about like Matrix spoilers?
I've seen the first movie and that's it. I
Okay,
haven't
then.
seen the first movie.
Okay, that's fine. So I wanted to show these clips from The Matrix because one of the most like popular scenes in it is a scene where Neo is going up against an agent, and the agent is able to perceive and dodge Neo's bullets, and then Neo is able to do the same thing a moment later. Now, granted, he's not very good at it, right? Because he does eventually get hit by a couple of them. But it appears that what he's doing here is he's perceiving that the bullets are coming towards him, and he's deciding to move in a way to react to it that lets him evade them, although not perfectly because he gets hit. And then if we compare that to this scene later, so spoilers, this is like the end of the movie. Oh, sorry, I gotta sorry for the jump scare there. I gotta lower the volume. Okay, there you go. So Neo shows up, is confronted by a different agent, presumably with the same kind of gun, and this time he's shot at point blank range. He doesn't manage to perceive or to react to the bullets. So my opinion, and let me know if you agree with this, is that this technically doesn't count as a speed blitz by the definition that we established before, because Neo is still capable of perceiving bullets. Like his sensory perceptory pathways or whatever are still capable of perceiving the motion of bullets at that speed. It's just that he's at a shorter distance and he's taken by surprise and then wounded. And so he is, I guess, like movement speed blitzed based on the distance between him and the gun, but that perception doesn't come into play. So it's not technically a speed blitz. Do you have any objection to that?
I think I agree. Yeah. I like if I see someone get caught off guard like that, then
Mhm.
like if they don't see like if a character doesn't have a clear view of said character, quote unquote speed blitzing them, I wouldn't count on a speed blitz. Like it's not really fair. Like if you get me from behind, or in this case, like you like it's such a short range and I don't see the gun that you have in your hand, and it's like nah, it's not really a fair comparison in my eyes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. Because you have to satisfy, basically the character has to have an opportunity at least to like have the chance to perceive it fairly. And if they're taken by like off guard or completely by surprise, as you mentioned, sorry, then it's not quite the same, right? Kakuzu and Holiday says in chat, there's the argument of off guard plus distance. Closer you are to a danger, the less time you have to react. Yeah, that's very true compared to mid to long range. So I'm presenting this example before we go back to Naruto, not to say that like anybody has to agree 100% that this is objectively a speed blitz or not, but more to kind of illustrate that there's some nuance to the term, right? And the term itself kind of is like very strict and very specific. But there's a benefit to being able to use like subterms like perception blitz, for example, to kind of specify what exactly the kind of blitz is that's happening and how exactly it's working. The only thing I really object to or would want to like encourage people to be aware of is to not use the term speed blitz to just refer to outpacing or refer to like any time, like say I'm boxing against somebody and I land a hit and they don't block it. Oh, I just blitz them. But then they hit me and I don't block it. Oh, they just blitz me. You know, like it doesn't quite work like that, right?
Yeah, trading blows, like that's not speed blitz at all.
Yeah, okay. Cool. I think we're probably all on the same page. Um, but just as an example, right? Going back to chapter 24, this is when Sasuke is in the fight against Haku before Naruto shows up, and this happens. Haku has just put up his ice mirrors, and we see him grab the Senbon, and then we see Sasuke react to the wound that he gets. But then he gets wounded over and over and over again, and he he doesn't seem to be able to respond or to react to or perceive anything that Haku is doing, right? He just sustains the wounds and then doesn't have any response to it. So I think this would count as a speed blitz, right? It's an example where a character is making an attack that is unrespondable and unperceivable by their opponent. That being said, Sasuke then develops his Sharingan, activates it, and when he does so, I believe he's then able to start to perceive and start to react to the incoming attacks. And if you're of the belief that the Sharingan doesn't increase your movement speed, it's really just increasing Sasuke's reaction speed, then you could possibly argue that Haku's attack is a perception blitz, right? Because it's not that Sasuke can't get out of the way, that he can't respond to it at all, but it's that he cannot perceive the motion because it's too fast. And then once he gains that perception, he's then able to get out of the way. Does that all make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, once he starts and this thing too, this is off topic, but at some point I'd love to talk about light speed feats because I know that there are quite a few people who I've heard discuss Naruto who believe the characters are faster than light. I guess I'm in the minority in that I very much disagree with that. It's okay, like I'm not mad about it if anyone disagrees. But But I'd like to try to untangle some of those arguments, and one of them kind of comes up here in that, the data book says, second data book I think, says that Haku's moving at light speed between his mirrors, but then Sasuke kind of says, look through the illusion, and then Haku says he wasn't fooled or confused. And so my interpretation of this is, well, maybe there's more going on, maybe there's more trickery involved, and it's not like literal light speed movement. I don't know if you want to get like too off topic to get into that, but yeah, I think this fight is fun to kind of go back and analyze after the fact. But yeah, so I think basically it sounds like we agree on this particular feat being Speed-Blitz. Do you want to add any other comments, or do you have any other like reactions to that before I go on to the next thing?
No, I mean, pretty much got it spot on. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, feel free to interrupt me if you want to like chime in. Otherwise, I'm just gonna kind of keep like going through the feats to try to establish my point. The point here is like almost like a pseudo debate, I guess, in which I'm trying to gather all of the all the evidence I can find about speed blitzing in general, and or at least like a few pieces of solid evidence, and then try to bring that back to the Kakuzu versus Pain argument with like by using that data to kind of help us understand that better. By the way, Kakuzu and Holidays, I'm not sure if you're still here in chat, but just so you know, I did do a little bit of work on the KCM Naruto durability thing. It might be the sort of thing that we want to like. We could start off the stream next week and like start by talking about that. But also we can like start to get into the topic after the Speed Blitz stuff if you want to. I have some thoughts I can share about that. 1 second. Just don't want to try to cram too much into one stream, so it's up to you guys. But anyway, so this is the fight between Lee and Gaara, and this is in chapter 82, and this is near the start of the fight. So kind of important to keep in mind that Gaara has two forms of sand. I mean, I'm sure you guys are familiar with this, but Gaara's has his like base reaction speed, his own perceptual abilities, and his own movement speed and reaction combat speed, whatever. But then he's also got his sand shield that is capable of, I think, moving on its own, right? It kind of like does its own thing, and so its movement speed and reaction speed is not identical to Gaara's own like physical body movement speed. So sometimes Lee is able to do things that Gaara seems to be like to struggle to kind of keep up with, but the sand itself seems to be moving a bit faster. So over the course of this fight, you see things like this happen where Lee manages to hit Gaara. I would look at that. Damn it, I'm sorry about the coughing. I don't know why this is still going on months later. But you see Lee manage to outpace Gaara here, and he technically doesn't see Lee kind of coming in from above, but we do see other examples of Gaara being able to perceive that Lee is coming and see what he's doing and react to it. Then again, and I think this is after he takes off the weights, right? And again, we have something like this where Gaara looks behind him and thinks he perceives Lee's motion from behind, and the sand is like starting to raise up to block it. But Lee has then also moved back around to the other side and is coming from here, and Gaara doesn't perceive that in time. So does this count as a literal speed blitz? Maybe not, because if Lee was moving directly towards Gaara from the get-go at this speed, it's possible that Gaara could react to it. We see him turn around and try, like he seems to perceive Lee starting to move and then coming from behind him. So he's capable of perceiving his speed, but then Lee outpaces him significantly, and he doesn't respond to Lee's movement from this direction. He's still responding to Lee's leaving this position. So I think you could argue that this is a speed blitz over here, which is why I put this in my thumbnail. But also there's some I love this panel, it's so terrifying. There's also some nuance here, right? Because you could contest what I just said by arguing whether or not it was a matter of Lee's attention being diverted, or whether it was like a pure speed blitz, if that makes sense. 1 second. And I think this just kind of gets further exacerbated here. Like, I really doubt that Gaara is reacting to this, but it could be that he's just baiting Lee with his because he uses the sand substitution later, right? So it could be that he reacts to him here if we can argue that he used the substitution at that point. I need to go back and kind of look at the fight in more detail. Yeah, okay. So in this case, even though he didn't like physically maneuver out of the way, he was still able to use this moment to create the substitution. Okay, so again, there's some nuance, right? And I think that's basically, when he uses the lotus later on is a similar example, but I think I basically described what I was looking to. Let's look at this because we're here anyway. This is such a great fight. So here, Lee starts off, we can see his impact against the ground, we can see, or like the shockwave generated by his movement, we can see Gaara reacting to it. So he does seem to be able to perceive it, but obviously not to react to it. And then the other characters in the arena are struggling to keep up with it as well. And he's outpacing the sand as well. Here he comes up on Gaara, but Gaara does technically perceive it. So again, I feel like we should have a term for this, right? Like, it's fair to want to have a term that describes a character just so egregiously outpacing their opponent that their opponent, like, yeah, he can see it. Yeah, he can maybe like reflexively notice it the moment it's about to happen. But still, like Neo getting shot at point blank range, I think it's having like a term that describes this level of speed superiority is useful. So I don't object to that. This kind of feels like back what we saw with Haku previously, right? Like, it's sort of hard to imagine Gaara perceiving and responding to all these attacks, but as long as he meets this condition, technically it's not a speed blitz if we're very, very precise about it, which is why I think having multiple terms could potentially be useful. So any contentions or just like thoughts or questions about any of that before I move on?
No, you're good.
Cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure if there's anything specific you wanted to talk about. I didn't want to like talk over you, so to speak, if you want to chime in.
Nah, you're good.
But also, if you just want to chill, I'm not trying to put the spotlight on you, or like, what's the expression? Put you on the spot? Yeah, I'm not trying to put you on the spot either. So, this is the last one I think that I wanted to reference before going into the Kakuzu stuff specifically, if I can actually find it. This is in chapter 668, where Guy is going up against Madara. Now, Guy, I think when most people think of a speed blitz, they think of something like this, and honestly, it's not unfair, and it would make sense to have a term to refer to this sort of thing, because Guy, seems like he's quote-unquote teleporting to Madara's position. Like, he basically moves so fast that we just like see him show up there, and then attacks Madara, and Madara has time to block against it, but he's really not capable of responding to it in any sort of meaningful way, right? When we then get to the Sekizo as well, yes, he perceives his motion, he can watch him moving around, but and then respond to it with his attempts to block. But again, like, Guy is clearly outpacing him and able to hit him consistently. Madara doesn't seem to have a response to it up until the point where he throws his truth-seeking orbs forward. And then finally, the most dramatic example, I gotta pause to let the site load a sec, is of course when he uses the Night Guy and does this massive forward lunge. This is in chapter 672. And I think Madara perceives this, right? Because he says fast, and he also notices that he's bending space. So by definition, this technically is not a speed blitz, because Madara is perceiving him and can see it and responds to it by like moving his staff forward to guard against the attack. But also, doesn't it make sense that we should have some kind of term to refer to this thing, where even though the perception is still there, the speed is just so high that he has no response to it? I think that's fair. And I think that's probably why the term gets a little confused. So I hate to like just point out problems without suggesting solutions. I'm not sure what to suggest as the way to quote unquote fix this, or maybe if we just as a community should just agree that speed blitz can either mean like this kind of speed outpacing, or just use the term outpacing, I guess. or if it can have like two different meanings depending on the context. But anyway, the my main goal here was not to say like, hey, everybody has to change the way they perceive this term that I didn't come up with, but more to just say, here's some examples of things that we might agree or disagree count as speed blitzes, and then now we can go back and look at Kakuzu and Pain and all that, and see if they exist in different like blitz tiers compared to one another. Okay. Kakuzu and Holiday says, Kara reacts to the low end. Yep. I don't know. Would you really put Lee on the low end? I think he's pretty strong for that part of the story. He's probably like top 5, right? Especially with the gates, maybe even higher for the Genin specifically. Or were you
Yeah,
saying he was?
tuning exams, yeah.
Oh, what'd you say?
Like for the getting in the during the tuning exams arc, yeah, he was up there.
Yeah, like
Like with all the gates and everything, yeah.
yeah. I think it's. I mean, I'm not prepared to like draw a line, draw a line in the sand about this right now, but I think it's contentious as to whether like Sasuke could beat him. I think Lee himself says that Neji is like in a different class, right? Like Lee has some statement that Neji's better than him. Although, could Neji keep up with the gates? Seems doubtful, but maybe.
I don't think I don't think he ever meant with the gates whenever he talked about Neji.
Okay.
Because I don't think that was something that Guy would allow him to use like in a sparring match.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at those statements. That'd be an interesting. I saw somebody, I forget who it was, did like a tune-in exams free for all video where they were talking about if all of the Genin that were in the exams were basically like in a big open arena, like battle royale style, and they went at each other. I guess kind of like the Forest of Death, but without squads. Like who would win, and that would be genuinely interesting to see how that would play out. Oh, Kakazun Holiday says too much pressure from Guy for him to correctly react. Yeah, exactly. So he could perceive what was happening, but he didn't really have um any way to deal with it, right? Like he even said that I think he was implying that Guy was better than Hashirama at Taijutsu, right? Yeah, of all those who have fought me over the years, there's no one who surpasses you at Taijutsu. So Guy is, according to Madara, like above Hashirama in terms of his Taijutsu skill, which is crazy. And Hashirama
That
was,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, this is just like, are there even any other feats like being able to effectively fly, quote unquote, by kicking the air or like bending space? Like what? Like look at that. It's crazy.
Yeah. He definitely had he would probably have the best taijutsu, like not including like Otsutsuki and Six Paths like people.
Yeah, I
Hashirama.
think I'm not. Have you Are you like up to date on Boruto stuff at this point?
Uh Not really, but like I know of like things happening, but like I'm not caught up with Two Blue Vortex, but I was pretty much caught up until before that.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I wasn't sure if there are like feats of Otsutsuki in that are like vastly better than this. I don't know how high they scale. I'm guessing like they have the ability to destroy planets and stuff like that, right? So is it like closer to Dragon Ball level scaling by the time you get deeper into
Yeah,
Boruto?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Depends on who you ask, but like yeah, just about.
Did you get involved in that Naruto is or isn't planetary um shenanigans that happened like a few months ago?
That was a recent thing?
Yeah, I think there was a guy called, was it King Lion over on TikTok that put out a video that was like Naruto's not
Oh,
planetary and that everybody got really upset about it.
I think I've seen that. Yeah, I think denying that he's planet level in 2025 is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. That's more like a 2016, 2017 argument. Like,
Okay, so
I
it was
think
like bringing up old shit.
yeah, I think by now people should know. Like, I think bare minimum, like people will argue on Naruto solar system, galaxy, universal, even multiversal. There are arguments for that, but I think baseline people have him at least moon to planet. Like, There's no way you have him below that.
I mean, I think,
Especially when
yeah.
we go into Boruto and shit like that. Like, this is no way. You have like the Otsutsuki like swallowing like planets and shit. Like even Kaguya's dimensions, are at least planet to star size. Like there's no way.
Yeah, I
I think
have
people.
some thoughts about. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, no. Yeah, I think people are either being weird or they're just blatantly under like underplaying. Like it's just like Naruto haters.
Yeah, I think there's this like I'm not trying to gaslight anybody, but I think that maybe some of what motivates the disagreement is that people think that your series is the coolest and your favorite characters are the coolest based on the amount of damage and like level of destructive capacity that they show. You know, like Dragon Ball. I don't know if you ever heard this from like friends in school or whatever, but like people saying, well, Goku is so much cooler than Naruto because what Naruto can throw a little knife and Goku can blow up a planet. It's like, your coolness doesn't have to be relegated to just your raw power output. But that can spark these sometimes very passionate conversations where people like really have to and they really invest a lot of energy into proving that their opponent's character is just not powerful or something like
You want
that.
to know my thoughts on that?
Yeah, go for it.
First of all, I mean, they just don't know. They just don't know how to debate power scaling. If that's their argument, like obviously it's just casuals, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think people would think like that for a few reasons. Number one, when you look at like Naruto specifically, it's not as like crazy as Dragon Ball when it comes to displaying like the exaggerated feats. Like, for example, right? Like you have people, even if you want to include filler or anime filler, like you have Vegeta like blowing up King Vegeta blowing up 3 planets with like a wave of his hand, right?
Yeah.
You don't see that in Naruto. You don't just wave your hand and like the whole planet blows up.
True.
Like
True.
you see, when you think of characters like Goku and Superman, you think like, oh, they're tanks. They can like tank bullets, missiles, and shit. Like they can go through like mountains and destroy them. Like when you see in battles like that, Naruto, at least definitely in the beginning, um, it was more like strategic use of your powers, not necessarily like flexing. Oh, this is the most power I can do. I have the best striking or explosive power. It's more like, no, I'm going to use it in a more strategic way
Yeah.
to beat my opponent because I like there's no point in wasting energy trying to like show that. And I think like when it comes to like casual, I like to call it sneezing feats. Basically,
Sneezing
what I mean
face.
by that is like the comic panels where Superman sneezes and like a whole solar system gets blown away.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like or like One Punch Man or Saitama, he like sneezes or like blinks and like a whole fucking city block gets destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah. I know
Shit
what you
like
mean.
that. It's shit like that. Naruto doesn't really have that much of that. So like person who's casually watching the show is like, oh yeah, no, definitely like there's no way Naruto can match up to those people. Which
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think Naruto can match up to Goku or anybody like that, but
Yeah. That's fair.
that's not the reason. That's not like you shouldn't argue like that though, because
Yeah, I
you're
agree.
being dishonest. Like you're being disingenuous.
Yeah, I think it's fair to just try and look in context about what makes the characters compelling, um, as opposed to just trying to apply the same like the highest level standard possible to every universe. That doesn't isn't there? I forget what the term for it is, but sometimes when people have debates about characters between different universes, they go off of like equalized stats, right? They'll be like, let's do a battle between Naruto and Superman, but let's cap both of their speed at the same level, right?
Yeah,
And
equal stats debates. Yeah,
yeah, equal stats.
that people do that. I remember back in the day, like Naruto versus Goku equal stats was a pretty hot topic back in the day.
Yeah, it's a cool topic. Hey, so
Yeah.
Cardia, Kakuzu and Holiday has just joined the VC. How's it going?
Hey, hello.
Hey, how are
I'm
you,
good,
man?
and you?
Doing pretty well, yeah. Sorry if you hear my
Yeah,
cat in the background. He's upset for some reason. I'm not sure.
I don't hear it.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I didn't hear either.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, but thanks for joining in. Appreciate you guys trying out this conversation format and everything. It looks like I got the images working, so that much is a relief.
Yeah, very
People know
cool.
who's talking.
Very cool setup, man. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
true.
It's the website is Reactive by Fujitech. I'll post that in the chat in case you wanna check it out for yourself. It's honestly like
Okay.
stupid easy. So, but I was just worried that something might glitch out or whatever. But it's pretty easy. You just it like hooks into Discord and looks for whoever's actively talking, and then it just takes their profile pic and just renders it on screen when they talk. So
Yeah,
Mm,
I
okay.
like it. Yeah.
yeah. Cool.
Also, another thing, on the equal stats thing, like, um, some debates, some people like to equalize speed and only though, not everything, to like make it more interesting because like realistically, when you have characters that just have like absurd amount more speed feats than the other, it kind of gets tricky to debate them. So sometimes they just like to equalize speed to make it more fair.
Yeah.
I don't generally like to do that because if I'm faster than you, then you know, like either we're gonna equalize all stats or no stats, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes
But
sense.
I do like equal stats debate because it makes it more interesting. It makes debates possible
Yeah, for sure.
because when you stat somebody, like the debate becomes boring. Like okay, obviously there's nothing the character can do, but then when you equalize the stats, then okay, we have to take in consideration their IQ, their abilities, their hacks,
Yep. Yep.
stuff like that, their techniques.
Yeah, it just makes things like more interesting and more dynamic if you can set some like fair limitations, I guess, right? Cool.
Absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely.
Egg Prophet in chat says, "Is it my idea or is the circle of your profile pic on the screen not 100% lined to the middle of the?" Oh no, that would piss me off too. Let me see. Uh, OBS. Oh, whoops, that's not the right thing. One sec. OBS is saying that it is, but OBS can lie sometimes. One second. Active solo. Oh, now it changed alignment. Is that like less infuriating? There. How's that? Oh my god. Yeah, 0.001 centimeters to the right. It's telling me right now that it's lined up directly in the middle of the two pictures. So hopefully that's acceptable for the time being. Maybe it's because the skewing is off. Nope, looks about the right size. But I guess I can move it around. But that's totally fair. Like that would definitely irritate me too. I just wasn't focusing on it at the same time. Um, but yeah, Kakuzu and Holidays, is there anything in particular you wanted to share before we move on to the next thing? Any reaction you had to what we've talked about so far?
Um, Maybe explaining the difference between speed blitz and perception blitz,
Oh,
because I
sure.
think there's a slight difference between them.
Yeah, do you want to elaborate on that? What's your idea of the difference?
Um, like perception blitz, uh, it's like you cannot see in time the attack,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I'm not good at, not very great scaler too. But I want to talk about the Raikage, for example.
Sure. Yep.
He's able to speed blitz Sasuke when he enters his version 2 states
Hmm.
because Sasuke cannot see him. So by precaution, he used the Ribcage Susanoo because he cannot match him. He cannot see him when he moves after he dodged the Amaterasu.
Yeah.
To me,
So
at this point, it's a speed blitz, even if he didn't attack.
okay. So
You
you're
know,
saying? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
and for the perception blitz, I think it's when he fought Jugo in a V1 state.
Hmm.
Uh, Jugo made an attack in point blank, and he dodged,
Okay.
and then he comes from the side and attacks him,
I see. Okay.
and
So
Jugo cannot react because he's too fast.
you think that Jugo is capable of moving out of the way if he did perceive him and he just didn't perceive him at that time? Or did I not understand correctly?
Uh, I think maybe not because that's the first attack from the Raikage in the V1 state. He was able to perceive it and block it.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So that happened
So
before this, right?
he's
Oh, yeah, yeah, here
yeah.
we go.
So he's kinda not relative, but he can react a bit. bit.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Is this what you're talking about here when the Raikage like comes up to him when he's in his curse mark state, and then he has this reaction to it and blocks with this transformation thing here?
Scroll down and
Yeah,
I
sure.
say stop. Like for example, here Jugo stops the first blow, for example,
Yeah, but then
on
he
the
gets
Raikage.
he like gets through his defense, right? He like assumedly he keeps pushing through and is just able to pierce through the
Yes,
shield.
yes, because he cannot match the Raikage physically.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, and then was that the perception blitz you were talking about, or
No, it's after.
after? Okay. Oh, here. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So he's
No, not here.
actively.
It's
I'm not here.
later again.
Okay. Well, this would probably count as a perception blitz too, right? Because we've seen that Jugo can respond to the Raikage, but in this case, he doesn't perceive him coming. I mean, granted, he's distracted; he's looking the other way, but he's also like should be able to hear. There's an alternate universe, so to speak, where he can hear the lightning and hear the motion of air or whatever from the Raikage and perceive that and respond to it. But in this case, he just doesn't do so, right? So would that count as
Mm.
a perception blitz to your perspective?
I hesitate if it's a Speed-Blitz or a Perception Blitz, honestly.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the trouble, right? That's why I think hopefully you guys agree that it's valuable to kind of go over this stuff because of all the different like nuances or how can I say it? Like the details of how the definition can change. So is there another point after this where Jugo interacts with the Raikage? If so, I'll just keep
No.
going. Okay. But yeah, so then, well, let's look at the Amaterasu thing that you mentioned while we're here. You were saying, was it the Raikage dodging the Amaterasu, or the Amaterasu coming up when the Raikage is gonna kick Sasuke?
No, it's when he dodged the Amaterasu and Karin said Sasuke cannot match him in speed. Like he cannot perceive him, so you have to activate his ribcage, something like that.
Okay, let me see. So Karin says the Raikage's chakra is so high right now, he's at Biju level, and then
It's after that.
after that, okay, yeah, he uses the Amaterasu.
Ah,
Yeah. So here the
should be
Raikage
around here.
dodges it, lands on the samurai. But yeah, doesn't he use the Kagutsuchi? Yeah, okay. So is this what you're talking about, where he like covers the Amaterasu in flames? And
It's a
then
bit later when he
like
dodged.
Karian says, nothing can match the Raikage's teleportation speed. If you can't keep up, defend yourself with an intangible shield. He can't just recklessly attack Sasuke. So that's it. It
Mm.
looks like, I mean, this has to be based on Sasuke's perception, like cognitive perception, right? It's not like Gaara's sand that where it just activates automatically regardless of his of what he's doing or thinking, right? He's choosing to apply the Amaterasu to his own Susanoo, right?
hmm
And then he can kind of he can perceive him from behind. So he might not have the movement speed to be able to keep up with the teleportation, but he still has the perception to be able to perceive the incoming attack and to use this as a defense against that incoming attack. So it's like he's outpaced, but he's not being perception blitzed right here, is what I would say. But,
To me,
yeah.
it's more like Sasuke cannot see him coming. So by as a security, he activates his ribcage
Oh, okay.
before even the Raikage comes near,
So he was
just for
already.
safety.
Oh, okay. I thought that what was happening is that he was like waiting until the Raikage was about to hit him and then like essentially doing a parry, like a counter, right? In order to just like block the incoming attack at the last minute and bait the Raikage into getting his arm burnt. But you're suggesting that by this point, even though he hasn't even seen the Raikage, he's already thinking, well, shit, I better put this shield on, and he was going to do it anyway,
Yes.
kind of thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a fair interpretation. That's cool. Oh, hey, Worm appeared in chat. Hey, Worm, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, as Egg Prophet just mentioned, we're talking about speed blitzing. If you like, feel free to jump into the Discord. I think I might need to send you an invite, but if you would like to chat, we're just kind of going over different instances of speed blitzing in Naruto and trying to clarify what the definition of the term is. And then we're going to bring that back in a moment to talking about Kakashi versus Kakuzu, and then how that relates to the Pain versus Kakuzu discussion. Basically, this is me just responding to claims that Kakuzu is constantly blitzing Kakashi, and then going and looking up what a speed blitz actually is, and then trying to see if that's a fair statement, or if the inverse is true too. I've heard people say that like Kakashi blitzes Kakuzu, and I don't know if that's correct either. So I want to, especially with Kakuzu God in the chat, I want to see if we can talk about that a little bit. So, cool. Yeah. So was there anything else that you wanted to talk about regarding the Raikage and Sasuke here, or was that pretty much what you were referring to?
No, it's only that.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. I like your interpretation of him using it preemptively. It does kind of mean that it's like less of a reaction feat for him, but maybe more of a tactical feat.
Yes.
That's the right term for it. Yeah, that's cool. Let me just scroll through here. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this. Let me know if you want to check out. Yeah, I'll just open the floor in case anybody wants to go over any other instances of things you think are or are not speed feats, speed blitz feats. But other than that, we can go back to talking about the oh yeah, this is one other one here. We can go back to talking about Kakuzu versus Pain in just a second. But yeah, this is another one where I think it's a little bit contentious, but no, I guess this, technically speaking, doesn't count as a speed blitz. Technically, because it does look like Kisame is able to perceive it at the last second. If you interpret that little icon over his head as him realizing what's going to happen, he clearly doesn't have a movement speed reaction to it. But yeah, he doesn't. If they had just been like a tiny bit faster, or I don't know if we're supposed to interpret it that they're like pausing for a minute to say the name of the technique or whatever, but this is borderline a speed blitz. He just barely manages to notice it at the last second, right? And then this happens. 2 is too fast, right? I love how Kishimoto manages to draw some scenes that are simultaneously like really brutal and gruesome, but also really fucking funny. Just like Kisame or Hidan's head goes sailing after he gets it cut off by Asuma and then whines about it to Kakuzu. Worm says, any feats in general? Yeah, basically, because we're talking about like speed blitzing in general, and then trying to like accumulate a bunch of evidence about what counts as a speed blitz, and then bring that back to the Kakuzu and Pain discussion. So we talked about Haku, we talked about Lee versus Gaara, we talked about Night Guy attacking Madara, and the like Sasuke versus the Raikage. I guess we could also talk about like KCM Naruto versus the Raikage, but that's more like they just sort of outpace each other. It doesn't seem like they're actively unable to perceive each other's motion. They just kind of like one outpace, like Raikage outpaces Naruto, Naruto gets faster and outpaces the Raikage, and they kind of go back and forth for a while. But if you disagree, let me know. But yeah, I'm gonna get some water 1 second. Cool. All right, so all of this came out of the claim in the Brutal Honesty Noodles video, which we'll go back a couple of minutes. I was just going over this earlier today. But we'll go back to where we left off last time. And the claim was basically, like I said, that Kakuzu was blitzing Kakashi. And I've heard other people make the counter argument that the opposite is true, that Kakashi's blitzing Kakuzu. Or, yeah, Kakashi's blitzing Kakuzu. Too many like 3-syllable names that start with Ka. But then also, I'm sure if you guys have seen the original debate between Parrot and Suikage from a few years ago, they had Parrot and Noodles, I think, they talked for a while about Shikamaru's speed in relationship to Hidan, and claimed that like this is a speed blitz of Shikamaru like blitzing Hidan, right? I think based on our conversation thus far, we would probably agree that that's not the case, because A, Hidan was looking elsewhere and thought Shikamaru was dead, so his like cognitive perception or whatever wasn't focused on Shikamaru, but also he does notice it because this little, I don't know what the term for this is, this little star icon or like whatever reaction icon indicates that Hidan perceives the attack. He partially turns around and is able to at least partially get out of the way and avoid getting decapitated. So doesn't seem to me like either of these characters are really speed blitzing one another. They're just outpacing each other and are fairly relative. Does that seem like fair to say? Okay. Worm says, or specific to, maybe old Hiruzen versus Orochimaru. That probably falls under outpacing what I've heard the term blitz thrown around, chapter 132. Okay, yeah, let's take a look at that real quick. Is there any specific feat that you were thinking of, or just the fight overall? Also, thank you for the chapter recommendation. Oh, 123, not 32, sorry. Okay. Well, this is... I have to take time to like really appreciate the like special art that we get at the beginning of chapters. Okay, so something like this. I'm just gonna like go knee-jerk reaction, but feel free to challenge anything that I'm saying. Something like this doesn't seem like it would count as a speed blitz in the traditional sense because of like Hiruzen's perception being limited by the what is the name of that jutsu, the darkness genjutsu that gets cast here? It's Hashirama's, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, that art is really good. Worm also says when Hiruzen disarms Orochimaru and gets the RDS off. Oh yeah, okay. So like here he's doing it on Hashirama and Tobirama. So let's see here. Rips their souls out and seals them. Oh yeah, the Sound Ninja. Okay, so let's look for that Speed Blitz. So you're talking about, let's see, he gets Enma out, he dashes towards him, he's able to launch an attack, but it looks like Orochimaru sees it coming and blocks with the Kusanagi, and then he extends the arm out from the staff. That's really cool. And then Orochimaru has this like counter with his like extending his own animal summon. Orochimaru perceives whatever this is coming from. Oh yeah, okay, so this must be Hiruzen because there's his like headbands or whatever. He comes in from the side, from the flank, while Enma is occupying his attention, and manages to grab him. Intuitively, I would say, Bringer of Darkness is the name of that jutsu. Yeah, thank you, Worm. But yeah, Orochimaru sees this coming in, and he does perceive it because there's a reaction icon, and then he manages to get outpaced by Hiruzen. But so to me, I have not yet seen a blitz. Yeah, that just looks like outpacing to me, at least based on the definition that we've seen so far. Would you agree with that, or was there another thing that you wanted to look at? Also, what's up with Orochimaru's face over here? It's so weird. Just like he looks like a kabuki theater actor, just like looking condescendingly over at the poor Enma over there. And yeah, Hiruzen specifically tries not to evade anyway because he's going to die, right? With all this, so yeah, I don't think that counts as a speed blitz by what we've talked about before. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm gonna keep talking about Kakuzu and Hidan and all them, but feel free to chime in again if you Worm says, yeah, I'd agree with that. Great point with Orochimaru noticing Hiruzen after being grabbed. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. It's again, like, I definitely sympathize with the desire to have a term that refers to outpacing to a ridiculous extent. But then also I think it's useful to have a term that refers to like you are just so far above the speed of your opponent that there is literally nothing they can do in terms of being able to notice your motion and or being able to respond to it at all. So there's sort of two, you know how like when talking about if something is mountain level or not, there's fragmentation and violent fragmentation, with violent fragmentation being like a more pronounced level of destruction that requires more energy and stuff like that. Maybe we need like speed blitz and then like turbo speed blitz or something like that, where a speed blitz is just like a severe outpacing, but a turbo speed blitz is like outpacing to the point where it's literally impossible to be responded to by the opponent. Something like that. Yeah, but I'm not about to like take it upon myself to start going and editing wiki pages or anything like that. I'm just saying. So let's talk about the what Kakashi does here. And as I'm rambling about this, let me know, do you think that... Actually, I could open it up to you guys before I just start like continuing to talk if you want. And just say, in your opinion, do you think that Kakashi is speed blitzing Kakuzu over here? Keeping in mind that Kakuzu does say, how I didn't even sense your approach. So based on that statement and based on what we talked about before, do y'all think that this would count as a speed blitz?
Can you show me the panel?
Yeah, it's oh, is it not on screen?
Oh yeah, I see it now. I see it now.
Okay, cool.
Oh, let's see.
It's
Didn't even see your approach. That flesh hardening jutsu from the signs you
it's on 333 if you ever need to look at it on your end as well.
Yeah.
And to go back just to see it in context, right? Like Choji has just yeah, sorry, let me just show you in context just for all the data, right? So here comes Hidan via Shikamaru's pressing Kakuzu back. Kakuzu hits the back of the tree. Choji comes in with spiked human juggernaut and tries to come at him from above, and Kakuzu does this hand sign, and then Kakashi's looking at him and perceives him with a Sharingan. Then there's this feat where Choji like slams him to the ground, and then like Kakuzu pushes him back and is in Diamond Morph quote unquote mode, and then Kakashi shows up. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how it's not a speed blitz, to be honest with you. Like, Kakuzu himself verbatim stated, like, yo, I didn't even see this guy coming. Like,
okay, that's cool.
crazy.
Kakuzu and Holidays, do you have any thoughts about that before I continue?
Yes. I think to me, Kakashi was above his like Kakuzu sensory type things.
Okay.
You know, but that does not mean that he was faster than him physically.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. So before I respond to that, I just want to point out what happens next, which Kakuzu got. I know that you are very familiar with this. But of course, you know, Kakuzu falls down to the ground. Kakashi charges up his next Raikiri, and he starts actively dashing towards Hidan. And I don't know if he's at full speed here. I don't know if we can prove that, but he's definitely like amping up his speed and like starting to charge forward. And then Kakuzu kicks him in the chest, pushes him back, right? So my interpretation, and you guys can disagree with this, of course, is that technically speaking, by the definition of speed blitz that we've talked about before, I would be hesitant to say that Kakashi speed blitzed Kakuzu here, because Kakuzu's attention was actively focused elsewhere. He was, you know, looking elsewhere, and he had I don't even know if he knew that Kakashi was in the battle at all at this point, because I don't think he'd seen Kakashi. Was that?
No, he didn't know. There's no evidence to prove that.
Yeah, okay. So his body is hardened as well, and he's actively talking to these other characters, and then Kakashi approaches from behind and gets him while his attention is diverted. Now, granted, if we go back to... I want to point out one little thing before I kind of recapitulate, and that is here... It does look like Kakuzu is capable of perceiving like this presumably very quiet, very subtle motion of Shikamaru's shadow possession. So it does seem like he has acute perceptual abilities, and so the fact that he was able to be, you know, attacked by Kakashi's loud ass 1,000 chirping birds fucking lightning attack does seem kind of weird. And you could say that's a speed feat for Kakashi. I think that would be a fine argument. But what I would then counter this by saying is that, remember, a speed blitz has to be an attack that your opponent cannot perceive. And here we clearly see Kakuzu perceiving the same exact thing from Kakashi. The only difference is that he's not like hidden behind a tree or something like that.
Yeah, he's aware of his existence.
Yeah, exactly. Now, granted, and the same thing is happening too, where like Kakuzu is in a fixed position and Kakashi's dashing towards him, right? So, also Kakuzu just died, like quote unquote. So, you can cut him a little bit of slack here. But yeah, so I would personally not say that this counts as the most technical definition of a speed blitz for Kakashi, based on that.
Yeah,
I
me too.
I think it's a little more tricky with this because there are multiple people involved in the battle. I think that's the problem with this example. Like, so
Yeah,
like, if it was a one-on-one, then it's a lot easier. That's my thing. I like to when I talk about speed blitzes, I like it more to be a more like controlled one-on-one setting. In a group setting, it's kind of weird because yeah, you're right. Kakuzu has to keep eyes on multiple targets,
yeah,
but
yeah,
at the same
absolutely.
time, that that feat, it's still pretty impressive because like you said that Kakuzu didn't know he was in the fight. Kakashi was in the fight.
Yeah, I think um, Kakuzu and Holidays, feel free to chime in on this, but Kakashi had just been hiding in the trees. Like Shikamaru started the fight, and then Choji and Ino wasn't really doing anything, but like Choji then came in and assisted him. But Kakashi hadn't like revealed
Oh,
himself yet.
okay. I didn't know that. Okay, I thought Kakuzu was already aware of Kakashi's existence, so he wasn't aware of his
No,
existence yet. Okay, that changes things. Okay, I
Yeah.
see. All right, that definitely. Okay, then it's a little unfair to Kakuzu. Then I guess he
Okay,
did get
cool.
caught off guard. I guess.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
yeah, to me, it was cut off.
Oh, the Egg Prophet says, nah, I don't think it was a speed blitz. Kakashi sneaked up on him, Kakuzu was not focused on him, and generally speaking is like an external thing. Yeah, I think I would agree with that too.
Yeah, then I changed my answer. See, I didn't know that. That's why
Okay.
I wanted like, yeah, I didn't know that. That's funny. Okay.
So now, if you'll pardon the pun, here's the kicker, right? Here's where we get back to the feats for Kakuzu. Um, do you think it's fair to say that this is a speed blitz for Kakuzu, with Kakashi focusing on Hidan, dashing directly towards him, moving towards Kakuzu's position, and then Kakuzu like pressing up off the ground and kicking Kakashi? Do you think it's fair to say that Kakashi was speed blitzed? I'll just come out and say that I don't think, by our definition, by what we've looked at elsewhere in the series, I don't think that's fair to say. I think it's fair to say he was maybe perception blitzed, maybe what do you call it? Like outpaced for sure. But given the fact that Kakashi's focus was elsewhere, and he thought, probably we could dispute this, but he seems to think that Kakuzu was down for the count. I don't think it's fair to call this a speed blitz for Kakuzu. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's after he killed his heart, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, he thought he was dead. Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Now that doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily mean that Kakuzu has no other speed feats or even speed blitz feats elsewhere
yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
fight. We could still look at that, right? Um,
Um,
but that one wouldn't count. What was that?
I want to say my thoughts about this.
Yeah, please.
Um, so to me, it's still impressive because Kakuzu is laying on on the ground after a fatal injury,
Hmm.
and he had to get up and kick Kakashi while he was moving with the lightning blade, which amps speed,
Hmm.
and he was able to touch him. So even if it's an off guard or a perception blitz, Kakuzu was still able to react to a Raikiri Kakashi.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I think I have I don't know if you want to get into this as like a sidebar, but I have some doubts as to whether it's the Raikiri itself. Like I don't think the nature transformation chakra in Kakashi's hand makes his whole body faster. But the charging forward, like the rapid dashing lunge forward, definitely is probably Kakashi moving at his fastest. Like he needs to move super super fast in order to make the Raikiri effective, right? So it's probably fair to assume that Kakashi's moving, if not at max speed, he's like accelerating to try to get up to that speed, right? And so
Okay.
this would at the very least establish relativity in speed between Kakuzu and Kakashi, maybe even like um, slight superiority, um, because Kakuzu was able to react to it in a way that Kakashi didn't immediately have a defense for. Right now, I could counter that, or I could like push that topic harder by saying, okay, well, can we prove that? I'm sorry, but can we prove that like Kakuzu was in Kakashi's visual range or something like that? Like we could go debate mode and we can like try and nitpick it, but I like personally I think it's fair to say that Kakuzu is at least relative to Kakashi based on this. In a debate
Mm,
in a debate context, one thing, I'm not going to argue this too hard, but one thing you might want to keep in mind, one thing that somebody could challenge you on, is if speed is like distance over time, and we're trying to figure out what Kakuzu's like raw speed or whatever is, then keep in mind that it's Kakashi's forward movement is getting added to the movement of Kakuzu's leg in the opposite direction, right? Like if you're going 30 miles an hour straight forward in a car and then somebody's coming towards you at 30 miles an hour, you're going 60 miles an hour towards each other, right? So um, it would be kind of hard to get a movement speed calc for Kakuzu here because of the inclusion of like Kakashi's rapid movement towards him. But if your argument is that this is a feat for Kakuzu reacting to and perceiving Kakashi's like fastest attack, that would probably work, I think. Do you have any like thoughts about all
yeah,
that?
I agree. And also, Kakashi have the Sharingan on. He have precognition, and
Mm-hmm.
he still wasn't able to. The Sharingan wasn't able to perceive it. So
Yeah,
even I don't know. I don't know how to word this.
that's okay. I can talk a little bit about the Sharingan. So this is one of those things where I would want to do some research, and maybe this will be like a starting topic for another stream. My understanding about the Sharingan is not that it like lets you literally see the future. So I wouldn't say that it gives you precognition. Um, it works by letting you read all of the subtle movements in your opponent's body language and predict based on that like where they're going to go. It doesn't literally let you see what the future is going to be in like a magical or like premonition sort of sense. It literally just lets you analyze your opponent's like combat patterns or combat maneuvers based on their body language and like all the subtle twitching of their muscle fibers and shit like that, and then anticipate where they're gonna go, so it like gives you a head start, right? Would you agree with that? Do you have any like problems with that interpretation?
I think it's stated in the Naruto against Sasuke fight in the part one, but I don't remember.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, you know what? Let's take like a minute because I think it'll come up eventually in another conversation. Um, and again, like this is one of those things that I would want to go and look at data book statements and all that just to make sure I'm not like bullshitting. But we can still get some data from the Final Valley fight. Where is this? Where he gets? Hang on. So there's this back and forth with Naruto going into KCM and being able to like outpace him, right? I think it's here where he says he can see it and he sees Naruto's motion. Naruto comes behind him and he's able to dodge.
um,
I'm looking for that
it's
moment where he
before.
sees like
Yeah.
the. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No. No. No.
I was looking for the feat where he can kind of see where he's going to be, like a couple panels ahead of
Can we
time.
just take a second to appreciate Kishimoto's art here, bro? Shit is insane, dog.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think I'm a second behind. Did you mean like um?
It's before that, I think. Yes.
Oh, boom.
Oh yeah. There's so much weight and energy and emotion in this fight. That's true.
Like I'm saying, bro, it's literally, it's rated PF, peak fiction, man.
I like that rated PF. That's great. Yep. Worm says, I agree with that. The Sharingan can't precog chakra cloaks because there aren't typical physical movements or physical type movements. Yeah, I think Naruto versus Sasuke in the Final Valley Part 1 shows this. Oh, yeah, you had the same idea. Yeah, exactly. Um, Oh, so this might be it. I might have just skipped it over.
No, it's later, I think. You still have 2 Tomoe instead of 3.
Okay. Oh no, I think this is what I was looking at, right? Like he just gets the third Tomoe, and then
Oh yeah?
Naruto, I think before here was able to outpace him because he had him pressed against the wall, but now we see the Sharingan active and like called into attention, and then we see this, and he says, "Whoa! Before I couldn't keep up with him, but now is it the curse mark? Is my body adapting to the effects? I can tell what he's going to do next just by looking at him with my mind's eye." So I could understand why somebody would come to the conclusion that he's like predicting the future, but and again, like I'm happy to go look for more databook statements to support this, but I think what's actually happening is he's looking at what Naruto is about to do, and he's reading his body language and seeing, okay, he's gonna be here a minute from now, and then he's able to put himself into position before Naruto gets there and dodge the attack, and then specifically, yeah, okay, hang on. All I need to do is read his next move and set up my strike before it happens. So he puts his hand where Naruto is going to be before he even gets there. So he doesn't actually need to have an increase in his movement speed in order to do this. Like, in my opinion anyway, if Sasuke were to be sprinting at max speed forward with his Sharingan off, and then he turns his Sharingan on, his max speed is not going to increase just because he has it activated. But if somebody comes at him, he'll be able to anticipate the movement and maybe outpace them because of that. And then this is what I think Worm was talking about as well. When Naruto gets the chakra cloak, he is able to land a hit on Sasuke, and Sasuke is surprised about that fact because he can no longer like perceive where he's going to be. So if Sasuke could literally predict the future here, I think he would have predicted that the chakra branching would happen, and he would have like seen it back here, and he would have reacted to it and been surprised, and then been able to get out of the way. But he could read Naruto's moves, but his chakra acted alone. So it seems like he's able to only like read people's physical movements, but he can't literally predict the future, so he can't see like where the chakra is going to be a few moments from now. Does that all make sense? Does that all seem fair? Also, yeah, this
Uh,
art here is just incredible. You're right.
Bro, yeah, I'm telling you, man. Uh, so you're saying that, okay? I mean, I can kind of agree with that. It just depends because you would have to like argue like just how much faster Naruto is physically than Sasuke, and like to see just like how much time the Sharingan gives him to think ahead. Because I'm gonna be honest, in some cases, doesn't matter. Even if you can't predict the future, quote unquote, doesn't matter. You doesn't mean you can stop it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like if a fucking nuke is heading to
mm,
your house in 5 minutes,
yeah, that's
like
true.
it, not much you can do about that.
Well,
You know?
that's the other thing that like
uh,
oh, go ahead. Yeah, Cardia.
there's also a statement with Rock Lee in part 1 against Sasuke that even if you can foresee a move, you cannot dodge because your uh, reaction isn't equal to your physical speed.
Yeah, you're talking about
Something like
like
that.
before the written exam and the tuning exams.
Yeah, when Lee fights Sasuke
Yeah, I
with
think I know what you're
Sakura
talking about.
nearby.
Yeah. So my interpretation of that was that it's a little bit more. It's a chapter like 40 or something. Um, oh yeah, here we go. So let's see. Let's just read that real quick. Oh wait, it might be the chapter right before this? Sorry. Here we go.
I
So
mm,
yeah, it's when he's about to do the Lotus. Okay, yeah. So let's start. So for reference, for people who want to check this out, this is chapter 37, and this is Lee versus Sasuke. And Sasuke says, "How do you get under my guard? Is this martial arts or magic and illusion?" So he thinks, like based on his, I think we showed this earlier in this stream, right? That like, when Sasuke is fighting Haku, he says like focus, see through the illusion, and that's when he first activates his Sharingan. So I think Sasuke is under the impression now that yeah, like look what he says here. Whether it's a genjutsu illusion or a ninjutsu fighting technique, there's some kind of magic at work here. And this is back when in the series, at least in the Viz translation, they used to use the term like casting a jutsu, right, as opposed to like I don't know, performing it or whatever. Things were referred to as more magical at the time. Oh, sorry. I got a message in chat. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting how to pronounce your name with the kanji. Is it Axosod? Says hot take: Obito is massively overrated, and Kamui is just not that great, especially when dealing with the upper echelon of Shinobi. I would probably knee-jerk reaction be inclined to agree. Just in that Obito's the Kamui is an incredibly versatile and incredibly strong jutsu that enables him to do a lot against a lot of people. But it does have its limitations. In my experience, is that people look at its strengths and just say because of its strength feats, so to speak, he's basically like they treat him as quote unquote omnipotent for that part of the story, without looking at stuff like the fact that Conan hurts him with paper bombs even before the giant sea of paper bombs, or consider like what the limitations of it are. But I mean, he did fight KCM Naruto and Guy and and Kakashi simultaneously while also like micromanaging the Biju. So I mean, he's no joke. He's definitely one of the top tier characters in the series. But also, I think especially Orange Mask Obito, like people do tend to overblow a little bit. But I mean, like I'm sure we're all familiar here with the Uchiha like wankery that is just a necessary evil in the community. I guess like I will gladly participate in that as well when it comes to Madara, for example. So going back to what Sasuke was saying here, whether it's a genjutsu illusion or a ninjutsu. Okay, so my understanding of this is that Sasuke thinks that he's going up against some sort of illusion or some sort of ninjutsu enhancement, and he's going to start to try to look for whatever that is, whatever the trickery is. And then Sasuke says, my copy eye couldn't see through his technique, but that means those moves he's using, which I think we're getting to the point that you were saying, Kakuzu and Holidays, they're neither martial arts nor illusion. And then Lee has this exchange with him. That's right, no ninjutsu, no trickery. My moves are strictly physical, hard as you may find it to accept. If your Sharingan I can see to the heart of every ninja art well enough to duplicate it, as it is said to, then you know what I say is true. I'm sure your Sharingan is invaluable against arts like ninjutsu and genjutsu with their formalized rules, sign casting, and chakras, but physical taijutsu arts in their pure form are a very different story. Even if you can perfectly perceive and understand my movements, you lack the speed and strength to counter them. You haven't had the physical training necessary to keep up with me. It doesn't matter what your eye can see because your body's too weak to act. So, in addition to the fact that this is probably some kind of Speed-Blitz, arguably, because like Sasuke doesn't seem to see this coming at all and has no response to it, it just gets kicked up into the air. It seems like the implication here is that Lee could continue to Speed-Blitz him over the course of their fight because, yes, that predictive vision that he gets from the Sharingan is still not enough to, like, it doesn't guarantee him any kind of victory over somebody who just, like, completely eclipses him in speed and power. It's going to give him an advantage. It's going to give him a boost by, in my opinion, like, giving a head start, like letting him predict where his opponent's going to be. But it's not going to just like make him immune to taijutsu or anything like that. It's also, this is something I didn't think of. Somebody else pointed it out. So I think somebody here. So sorry if I'm not giving you proper credit here. I forget who it was. But that Sasuke also at this point only has the 2 Tomoe. And I think the predictive vision thing only comes in with the 3rd Tomoe because we see him like awaken it during the Naruto fight, right? So what Lee is saying here is absolutely true. Like I'm not disputing his statement. But then also there's the additional layer on top of that where Sasuke, like if Sasuke actually had the 3rd Tomoe, he might have been able to see what Lee was going to do and like start moving ahead of time and get away from the attack before he got hit. Or Lee could have just been that much faster than him and just blitzed him anyway. It's entirely possible, right?
Yeah, I think the 3rd Tomoe is a significant boost compared to the 2 Tomo, cause
Mhm.
bro, we saw Naruto just dog walk this man Sasuke, and then he gets the third, and like now it's not even an even fight. Sasuke just takes the control of the fight just switches completely.
Yeah,
Like I don't think in the manga Naruto is even able to do anything to Sasuke after that before he gets his one tail. So
right.
um yeah, I think if he had the third Tomoe, because I think even though Rock Lee is embarrassing him here, I think Naruto embarrassed him way more in their fight. So I think if he had the third Tomoe, he could probably react to it. React
Yeah,
to
that
me
makes
in
sense.
this
Yeah.
case.
Oh yeah, you reminded me when you said dog walked. Was it whoever sent me the debate with I think it was you, right? With fucking Arrow versus Taurus.
Yeah, that
Um,
was me.
yeah, there was
You
the
like that one, huh? You like
yeah,
that
that
one.
was a lot of fun. I think Arrow at one point was like, "Oh yeah, it says here in the data book," and then he like makes a sound of paper rustling and pulls it out. That it says here that Kid Buu literally dog walked Buhan through a Walmart parking lot or something like that. It's like, here's the
Oh
statement,
yeah.
you can't deny it. It's so fucking funny. Um, and then him opening that debate by saying like, was like the first thing he said was, if I get a pube in my burger at McDonald's,
Oh my
I might
god.
go back. Actually, I might actually go back after that. But if I get a second one, then I might not. It was great.
Yeah, because they were talking about the translations and shit like that. Oh, it's
Yeah,
petty
exactly.
shit, man. I won't lie.
Yep. Got a good sense of
Oh
humor.
man, I gotta send you more debates, man, because there's a lot of funny ones out there. It's so funny.
Yeah,
Holy
for sure.
shit.
I think there's still so much content in the brutal honesty video to excuse me to get to. And I'm finding that at least hopefully you guys will agree, but it's serving as a useful way of like branching out into different topics because, like I've mentioned before, something that Noodles is good at is that he casts like a wide net and he can like refer to a whole bunch of different topics or principles or fights or whatever, and then it's a good like at least personally, like I feel like, oh wait, no, that's not right. Oh, that doesn't make sense. And then so it's a good like catalyst for me to go and then like try to find things to talk about. So I think there's still plenty to talk about in that video. But also in terms of a debate, when I'm done with this, I think I'll need a little break from Noodles. And if you want, if you have any other suggestions, let me know. I was thinking of maybe looking at the Swag Kage and Six versus Afro and Kabuki debate because that
Oh,
came up
bro,
before.
that's the best debate of all time, bro. Holy shit.
Okay, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and that'll be the one where we're spending less time like analyzing things, I think, because there's definitely stuff that comes up like uh, Madara's battle experience and how that factors into it, or like
Bro,
did Sakura Speed-Blitz Kaguya, that we'll look at the panels and analyze it, but it also be a little bit more low key and just like kind of reacting to the conversation, so to speak.
I
So that might
think,
be a nice break.
bro, I think half of that debate we're just gonna spend just laughing, bro. Cause I'm gonna be honest, bro. They spent 3 hours talking about nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
Like 3 hours, and Afro and Kabuki did not give Madara any AP. Didn't give him any durability. No speed. Didn't talk about the only thing to talk about was experience, which was like iffy at best.
But
Like
the experience would definitely help, Mr. Narrative. Don't you know?
it would. It would only help. Like, oh my god, no, bro. I'm sorry. Like, okay, wouldn't. How do I say this? Because the way that they were arguing was Sakura was just massively outstats Madara in speed, AP,
Yeah.
durability, right?
Well, I think
So
they were getting to that. They started off by basically saying like, can we at least establish that Sakura has the AP like based on her chakra output to hurt
yeah.
Madara, and
Mhm.
then Kabuki was like, show me one time where like Sakura blew up a mountain with a single punch, or like, and then it just went
Listen,
downhill from there.
I think what what looking back on it, what Afro should have done, or Afro and Kabuki should. I'm not gonna lie, Kabuki kind of sold the whole debate. I won't lie for
Hmm.
Afro. I feel bad for Afro because Kabuki was a very bad partner because instead of like working together, Kabuki was just making points that I know for a fact Afro either wasn't trying to make or didn't even agree on upon. Like the
Yeah.
whole Chubi chakra shit being different, like it's like none of that shit matters, bro. Like none of that shit matters. what they should have done was, okay, let's argue about the AP. Let's try to put Madara closer to AP, and then maybe that experience shit can matter. But it's
Yeah.
like, oh, just experience. Like, no, bro, because then what? Master Roshi has more experience than Teen Gohan from the Cell games.
Oh
What?
yeah, yeah.
Is Master Roshi gonna beat Gohan because of that? Like, no, bro. Let's be for real, dog.
Well, that's the
Let's
that's the thing that Swag brought up too, right? About like, would newborn baby Broly beat like mercenary Tao Pai Pai? And I mean, I don't know Broly that well, but I'm pretty sure that even as an infant, he can like destroy planets and stuff, right? At
he
least.
had a power level. He had a power level of 10,000
Okay,
when he
and
was
that's
born. So he one shots. Yeah, he one shots. Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
So.
I think he also brought up Goten versus Captain Ginyu.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's
Which
like,
I think was a
yeah.
good analogy, yeah. But like, and then when what was it? Fuck. Six? No, not six. Afro was like, "Hey, Six is a baby beating your ass," and then uh, Six responded by saying, "No, because I have much more power than the baby, in addition to the experience." Like, guys, come
Exactly.
on.
Yeah, that was a dumb.
You
A human baby obviously is not gonna be able to do shit like.
no.
I have a question.
Yeah. What's up?
Uh, let's switch and let's say Kakashi was able to dodge Kakuzu's kick.
Yeah. Okay.
What would have meant? That would have meant that Kakashi was able to dodge Kakuzu because he is faster than him. No.
Yeah. Well, so if Kakashi has his Sharingan active, which I think he does, he just closes his eyes here for yeah, yeah, it's active. But I think if Kakashi has his Sharingan active, and assuming that he can use the predictive vision like Sasuke can, then we could look at that like if at this moment, Kakashi had perceived Kakuzu's like getting up and trying to kick him, um, then he might have been able to look at that happening and be like, oh, I can read Kakuzu's body movement. I like see the prediction of where he's going to be, and then I can get out of the way before that happens. Now that wouldn't necessarily mean that Kakashi's overall like max movement speed or max like taijutsu striking speed is greater than Kakuzu's, because the Sharingan is giving him a bit of a head start there. What it means is that with the Sharingan, he is able to dodge Kakuzu's attacks, and then as long as he continues to have the Sharingan active, he should be able to respond to any other attacks that Kakuzu does that are relative to the one that he just did. But if Kakuzu gets even faster than that, that doesn't mean that Kakashi is necessarily going to stay up to speed with anything Kakuzu does. Like when he goes into the Jangu long range assault mode with all his tentacles out, it seems like he gets a speed boost then, and it might be the case that he just gets faster and could outpace Kakashi even with the Sharingan later. So, as boring as it can be sometimes, my perspective on these things tends to be like, focus on all the details as much as possible, and then try to be specific about what's happening. And all I would literally all I would say from this is that Sharingan Kakashi could outpace Kakuzu's taijutsu in this form. Does that sound fair?
Can you repeat the end, please?
Oh yeah, sorry. So my conclusion about all this is just that Kakashi with his Sharingan could outpace Kakuzu's taijutsu, at least in his base form.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily, and then as long as Kakuzu stays that same speed, then Kakashi should be able to perceive, react to, and probably avoid any other taijutsu stuff that he does that's the same speed. And then if he has any other ninjutsu that he casts that's the same speed, he'd be able to do that. But then if Kakashi's Sharingan goes off, then we have to reevaluate it because it does affect his perception speed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does that seem
Because
fair?
yeah. But to me, it's just that when Kakuzu is in front of Kakashi, laying on the ground, and Hidan is just in front of him too. So he should be in his eyesight anyway.
You're saying that he
And
should be in his like line of sight, line of vision?
Yeah, and I even think that when Kakashi starts to dash, he shrinks a bit. He goes forward, goes a
Yeah.
bit down.
Well, I
So
think.
even
Oh, go
more,
ahead.
you could see
Yeah.
Kakuzu's
So,
body.
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I think there's like
Mm.
a slight delay in the audio, so I apologize if I interrupted you.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
But to me, just that Kakashi goes forward and moves down his body, so he should clearly see Kakuzu's body in front of him,
I think so.
since they
Yeah.
are in the same. Yeah, because they are aligned. All three are aligned: Kakashi, Kakuzu, and Idan.
Yeah.
Kakuzu is just in between them.
Yeah. Like I think.
You can
Yeah.
maybe, excuse me,
Okay.
you can maybe do the example in real life. Like you ask a friend to lay down in front of you, you look just forward, and you should see him.
Yeah, that's a good point. The only thing I'll say, like, oh, 1 second. I heard Brahma says, well, oh, good. Yeah, hi, it's good to see you, and I hope everything's going okay on your end. No worries about joining the VC. I think it was a great idea to open it up. I seem to have the technical side of it working, so if you want to jump in later, feel free. If this time slot works well for everybody, which it seems to be working okay, then I can do it again next week, and you're welcome to jump in there as well. Now that I've got it working, I think I'll just make it like a regular part of the stream, so no worries. But yeah, but thank you for stopping by anyway. But yeah, so to respond to what you were saying, Kakazu and Holidays, yeah, I think it's probably true. Like everything you said, I don't disagree with it. The one thing that I would add to that though is that, and maybe I should just take a moment and look this up because you don't have to take my word for it, but I think that the Raikiri gives you tunnel vision to a certain extent, right? Like, doesn't it kind of require that you focus kind of exclusively on your target and commit to that? And so both, maybe it's not like tunnel vision, like literally your pupils narrow and you can't like visually see as much, but it gives you like a high level of focus on one specific thing, and then that causes you to not be as aware of your surroundings, which is why Kakashi needs to, well, I'm about to counter myself here, right? But like, which is why Kakashi needs to activate the Sharingan to use it effectively in order to account for his opponent's possible counterattacks while he's lunging forward. But that might not necessarily like overcome the disadvantage of basically having that quote unquote tunnel vision with respect to things that are near him, around him, or on the ground. So to summarize all that, I know that was a bit of a word salad. Basically, I think that the possible counter to what you're saying is that the Raikiri just gives Kakuzu tunnel vision. Kakuzu. The Raikiri gives Kakashi tunnel vision, and since he's focused on and dashing towards Hidan, even though he should be able to see Kakuzu out of the corner of his eye, you could say that maybe the reason why he didn't see him is because his focus was just like so like pinpoint on Hidan. Does that what do you think about all that?
I think it's it reminds me when Kakashi was little and used the Raikiri. And yes, at that time he have tunnel vision because he was new with the jutsu, let's say that. And I think he didn't have the Sharingan as well. But
Oh
I'm
yeah, yeah.
sure, I'm certain there's something in the manga that states he doesn't have tunnel vision anymore when he have the Sharingan.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like the Sharingan helps like to account for that weakness. Oh yeah, HNH debates in chat says Raikiri creates tunnel vision when you don't have a Sharingan. So I might be wrong about that. Also, hello HNH, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah,
Hello.
so you might be right about it. There's something about I can't quite put my finger on. There's something about it that's still that I feel like I'm not mentioning properly. But I will try to do a little bit more research on that and see if I can figure out most for the moment. I'll concede the point to you, so to speak. Not that we're debating, but I think that you brought up a valid point, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Because I wanted to say that because I'm sure if it was the reverse in the manga that Kakashi was able to dodge an quote unquote surprise attack, people would have wanked Kakashi so much and that played Kakuzu so bad. That's why I'm saying that.
Well, didn't we talk about I think we did, but sorry, I can't remember what you said about how Shikamaru is like using shadow possession on Hidan, and then Kakuzu comes from behind him, which I think would count as a surprise attack. This is back in the first fight with Team Asuma, and then
Yes.
while that happens, like Kakuzu comes from behind him, Shikamaru perceives that and manages to get out of the way. And I think people have used that as a speed feat and perception feat for Shikamaru. Um, would you agree with that, or would you say that that's like Shikamaru wankery?
Uh, no, I think it's Shikamaru wankery, but to me, just if you look at the panel, um, Shikamaru didn't perceive or uh, Kakuzu didn't see him, but
Hmm.
he sensed him due to the sound,
Yeah,
like he sensed the presence, and he was
yeah,
able to dodge. But it's just to me just like the Jugo and the Raikage argument. It's like he
okay.
was able to dodge or evade one attack,
Hmm.
but after that he cannot. He just have too much pressure from the enemy that he cannot physically keep up. Because after Shikamaru dodges, people forget who do not want to tell that Shikamaru falls in the ground because of Kakuzu's pressure.
That's right. We were talking about it last time about how he's like kind of like leaning up against the ground afterwards, and then like would have fallen over if Asuma didn't step in, something like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Yeah, that's fair. I like the fact that you're looking at this in terms of stuff like pressure and like the overall context of the fight in general. Something that I think tends to get lost sometimes in these discussions is, we try to reduce everything down to, oh, here's this speed feat, here's this AP feat, and it just becomes like these very discrete, like simple chunks of stuff. And then, which is useful in terms of trying to have a like a meaningful, like a fair debate, but then we wind up losing out on, I guess, like the more holistic, or I don't know what the word for it is, but like the actual parts of the fight, like pressure and psychology and character, like mental status and things like tactics and stuff like that, right? They get kind of thrown by the wayside. Um, let's see. Howard Brahma in chat says, does Kakashi have his vision enhanced by any specific degree to see more things with his visional lenses, both with and without focus to other things when moving? I don't think so. I'd definitely be curious to hear if other people disagree. I don't think the Sharingan itself is stated anywhere to like expand your field of vision and let you see, like, like you up the FOV slider on a video game that you're playing. I think it's more that it just gives him the ability to see through illusions, to like detect chakra to a certain extent, and then to be able to use that kinetic predictive vision to predict his opponent's motion. H&H Debate says, I just think Kakashi is off guard when Kakuzu kicks him because he doesn't expect the kick. He created this precondition in his mind that Kakuzu can no longer attack and is attacked. Yeah, I definitely do agree that he's off guard. I think, not to put words in your mouth, Kakuzu and Holidays, but I think what you were saying is, despite the fact that he was off guard, like there's a world in which Kakashi could have perceived Kakuzu, but he just didn't. Like, even though he was like, Shikamaru's off guard here, but he still like hears Kakuzu coming at him. Kakashi, when he was going up against Shikamaru, or against Kakuzu, Kakashi didn't perceive him at all, and so the argument is that it's like a perception blitz, right?
To me, yes, because even if you don't expect someone to get up from a fatal injury, if you have enough reaction speed, you should see him coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my point.
Yeah, or even like hear him coming too, right? Unless Kakuzu's moving faster than
Yeah.
the speed of sound or something, I guess. But actually, yeah, I'm not even gonna get into, into the speed of sound stuff. Um, but so H&H Debate asks, is that the topic? Yeah, so the main topic that we started off discussing today was, what is the definition of a speed blitz? What are some examples of speed blitzing throughout the series? And then bringing that back to our conversation about Kakuzu versus Kakashi and versus Kakuzu versus Pain. Do the things that Kakuzu does to Kakashi count as speed blitz? speed blitzes. Is he consistently outpacing and speed blitzing Kakashi throughout their fight? And is it fair to say that like Kakuzu is a blitz tier above Kakashi, basically? But of course, like as tend to happen on these streams, we are totally fine to go a bit off topic and like look into tangential things and stuff like that. So if you guys want to jump around a little bit, that's totally fine. Howard then says, because he doesn't make any comments on Kakuzu's chakra network while he's piercing him in his frontal position. I'm sorry, I
You
admit.
have to.
Oh, go ahead.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Deidara and Sasuke fight. Sasuke activated. He have his Sharingan on, but he have to activate his vision to see the Necrobomb. I don't know, nanobombs,
Yeah, the
because he
microbombs.
knew the C4 Garuda was dissipated in the air, and Sasuke seen Deidara's expression, like it was at the end, there's no explosion at all. So he activated his sight to see the chakra, to see the nanobombs. So you have to activate it. But he didn't against Kakuzu because I think he assumed he was just a normal human being.
Yeah, I think I agree with that overall. The one thing I will say is that so Kakashi, hang on, let me I want to like not ignore what you said about Sasuke. I think that is actually an interesting point, that even though the Sharingan gives people the ability to perceive like invisible things or to like see chakra and stuff like that, it's not like a night vision goggle or something like that. Or I don't know if you ever played like the Metroid Prime games, where you turn on a visor and then all of a sudden everything in the entire world looks like it has like a different filter applied to it, right? Or even like night vision scopes in Call of Duty or anything like that. They have to, or I guess it is kind of like a scope that you have to actually activate and decide to turn on, as opposed to this like constant thing. So it makes sense that you would need to use it tactically and use it in the right moments in order to like to decide to do so, right? So that's probably an aspect of the Sharingan that doesn't get talked enough about, is like all of the different attachments and toggles that it has, so to speak. That's a cool point. And then the only thing that I would add to that would be, so when Kakashi comes over here and he's like done his Raikiri, he has the vial that Shikamaru gave him, and he decides to take some of the blood, and then he has this expression and the ellipsis over here, which makes me think he's like kind of waiting to see what's going to happen, that he's studying Kakuzu and maybe anticipating that something else might happen. Having fought, or like having gotten the intel about Hidan's like weird immortality, I think he does suspect on some level that there's a possibility for Kakuzu to do something weird. He doesn't know what it is, but knowing that the other guy got his head cut off and then kept on fighting after that, and he is planning for something else to be able to happen. Now that argument might actually help your position, Kakuzu and Holidays, potentially, because if that's the case, you could argue that Kakashi should have been expecting Kakuzu to do something here, because he knows that his partner is like quote unquote immortal. He's clearly like a little suspicious, at least to my interpretation of Kakuzu. He's planning for this backup with like taking his blood and everything. So why is he not like a little bit more on guard here? And the only counter, like I've thought about this before, and the only thing I could think of is that Kakashi let himself get hit because he wanted to like bait Kakuzu into revealing his immortality or something like that, like to revealing what his secret was. And then once he figured that out, he could just have Shikamaru peel off and do the thing with the like the blood and Hidan's ritual and all that to kill him. But that's me like speculating. You could definitely look at this and be like, well, what the fuck? Why did Kakashi like make himself that vulnerable? If he was suspicious of Kakuzu, why didn't he like focus on him or like try to think about him? Wait a minute, Kakashi is actually really smart, so he probably was, and therefore like you could argue that Kakuzu, that's more of a feat for Kakuzu, that he if not blitzed, he outpaced a suspicious, cautious, like planning ahead Kakashi, if that makes sense. What do you think about all
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I understand. It makes sense to me. And anyway, if people um, don't claim if it's an percentage blitz or it's an off-guard thing,
Mhm.
in any way, Kakuzu still reacted to this Kakashi with a Raikiri amp. So he have the speed point, let's say.
Yep, that's okay. Or that's like I'm willing to accept that for now.
Base.
Um, maybe in a debate context, like I might try to push harder, but honestly, I think like I'm much more interested in these discussions with you guys in just like demonstrating what like the arguments are and what the data is, and then kind of letting people come to their own conclusions, as opposed to saying that like this is what you have to believe or whatever. And I think intuitively, like I sort of disagree with you, but to a certain extent, not completely, to a certain extent. But I don't know that I could like debate that point, and I think you've made like valid points about that, to the point where I'm cool just saying like yes. Does that seem fair? Did that make any sense at all? Sorry, like trying to gather my thoughts here.
Excuse me, can you repeat?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was trying to figure stuff out while I was talking. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, uh, part of me still disagrees with what you said, but I'm not exactly sure why. I think I need to go do some more research. In the meantime, I think you've made good arguments and made good points overall. And if us having this conversation has resulted in us like just talking about the data, and like, which I think we have, I think we've had a good conversation where we've been able to, go over the fight in more detail and learn things and talk about things, then I'm totally okay if we disagree a little bit about this, because my
Yeah,
main
me too.
motivation is just to like kind of have the conversation in the first place, I guess. Um,
Mhm.
oh, I'm sorry. I just got a message from Auhert asking to resend an invitation to the server, so I'm just gonna take 1 second and do that. Okay, Auhert, I sent that over to you. Let me know if that works, and I'll respond to chat really quick as well. H&H Debate says, it is never stated that Kakashi is perception blitzed. He's just surprised when he gets hit by the kick, and considering his movement speed is enhanced by Raikiri, him moving him into the attack and reacting late would make sense. Okay, let me ask you guys. So I've heard this numerous times before, that the Raikiri itself makes you faster. We actually talked about it briefly before in the stream, right? My finding, like I tried to look into this, and I couldn't find anything that convinced me that just like turning on the Raikiri, like putting chakra in your hand and activating the lightning transformation, that makes you faster. I did find statements that it like you have to move really fast and dash really fast forward for it to work, um, but I feel like I might be missing something, because the majority of people seem to think the Raikiri just like speeds you up, like the lightning cloak from the Raikage, right? So am I wrong about that? Do you guys know what everybody's talking about?
Yes, it's when Kakashi was little in a Jonin, when he used the Raikiri in the first time against Jonin.
Mm-hmm.
He was fighting a guy from another village,
Mm-hmm.
and he couldn't stop the Raikiri. He was too linear, and Minato saved him. And I think he told him that um, like he cannot stop his speed, like, or maybe it's the beginning of the Raikiri, which gives him a huge amp in speed or dash, something like that.
Okay.
It's in the chapter in the manga. Minato says that, I think.
Is that would be in like Kakashi Gaiden, right? In the like,
Yes.
yeah, which would
Yes.
be something like 270, something like that. Okay. Yeah, I'd love to just oh wait, no, it's a little bit before this. Um yeah, I definitely love to like try to resolve this to a certain extent, because it does keep coming up, and I guess I'm not quite getting it, but I appreciate you letting me know that. So let's just take a minute, and let's see if I can find it. I will respond to chat as well. 1 second. Oh yeah. Howard says, consider this: if the blood ritual just makes it possible for the target's body to feel the same effects as heat on, would that technique work on the corpse afterwards? Oh yeah. So I mean, I guess like if Hidon gets the blood and Kakuzu has already lost one of his hearts, and then they do the same thing where they manipulate him into using his to stabbing himself with Kakuzu's blood, then if Kakuzu's just lying there and there's another heart inside of him, I feel like that heart would be killed as well, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah. H&H says mechanistically the Raikiri making him faster doesn't make sense, but the Kakashi guidance seems to really portray it as a speed boost. Okay. So I think it would be after this, right? Like, so he has...
I don't remember if it's after or before. I don't remember it. I'm not familiar with Kakashi Gaiden.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. We don't have to spend too much time here, but I'll just like scroll through it to see if I can find it. I mean, this is chapter 244, and this is Kakashi attacking the Jonin, presumably, and he is dashing directly towards him at close range, and guess he clearly does manage to survive. Do we have a statement from Minato coming up soon? Oh, it says, Obito, you helped me perfect my jutsu. He also says cripes, which I don't know if I've ever heard somebody ever say cripes outside of Naruto, but there we go. Checked with my life. Okay, so yeah.
Okay. Maybe it's the beginning. At the big. But let's see. Yeah, let's see if it's.
Here's what
similar.
Minato says, right? Like, yeah. Oh yeah, it might be a little bit before. Okay, no problem. This isn't too long, so I don't mind going back and taking a look. This is such a cool scene for Minato as well. Great way to kind of get to know about his powers and the whole flee on sight thing. Do we actually see him use the... Oh, he activates his Sharingan here. He sees them. Yeah, that's cool. Let's see. Mechanistically, the Raikiri... Oh, H&H Debate also says he also used it at the beginning of Kakashi Gaiden. Okay, yeah. I think we're getting pretty close there. And that must be where Minato gives him like the admonition about it, or the feedback, so to speak. This is I thought it said like, oh yeah, part 2. Okay. So here we go. This jutsu, I can finish them in an instant. So, making that loud sound, Minato takes a look at it. Okay, so here we go. He's activating it, and he's dashing forward very quickly. Never thought he'd charge straight in. And he's still able to... Oh, so interesting. So while he's... Okay, this might actually help your argument, Kakuzu and Holidays, because he's dashing forward, he gets flanked and hit, like attacked with all these incoming kunai, and he's still able to perceive the kunai coming in and to like smack them away, even though never mind. It's Minato knocking them out of the way. I was gonna say, if this is Kakashi doing this, then he should like be even better than this when he's older with a Sharingan, which would be an even bigger feat for Kakuzu, right? But I guess this is just Minato like covering him. Although he says the kunai knives pinpointed all your locations. Now here I come, and he's fast, dashing towards him, manages to get him. Shadow Doppelganger. Interesting that Kakashi seems to just like... Is he maintaining his Raikiri through this? Because as an adult, hi cat, as an adult, we know that he can only use a certain number of attacks per day. Like, so here it says number 18. So as an adult, he can only use like 4 or 5 per day, right? So I guess it's suggesting to us that he turns on the Raikiri once, and then he just keeps running and running and running and just plowing through anybody in his path, like kills multiple people with the one Raikiri. But then as he's dashing towards this guy over here, it looks like this guy actually does manage to perceive him coming into counter and to slash at him. Okay. I barely managed to counterattack that brat, but the way that guy moved. Okay, yeah, so that Minato gets the kill. Okay, flee on sight statement. Find this crybaby. I think this is Minato's thing. Kakashi rules and regulations are certainly important. At times you must adapt. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is in chapter 240. It says, and one more thing, Kakashi, about that new jutsu of yours, you shouldn't use it anymore. From what I saw, it's a strike with a single focus. It certainly has speed and destructive power, but it makes you move too fast to ascertain the opponent's counterattack. It's still imperfect. So is this the statement that y'all were referring to? I'll assume so. Okay, hi cat. So yeah, if this is the statement that you guys were referring to, then I could definitely see where you're coming from there. You could potentially interpret the statement as the attack itself in terms of like, how can I say? So when Kakashi's doing this, right, he like does the nature transformation and applies the chakra to his hand and then starts to dash around and use it. And so the attack itself is the lightning chakra plus the dash, and the speed of the dash is always going to be like determined at minimum by, or at maximum by, Kakashi's own like movement speed, right? And if that's the case, then I'm not seeing how the jutsu is necessarily like making him faster overall. I think it's more saying that like him using the dash along with the lightning as like one composite attack, so to speak, is inherently very, very fast and like very because he's like sprinting as fast as he can, right? And just like dashing between people. I think that's what the implication is there. Oh, I got a message. 1 second. Oh yeah, welcome to the server, I heard. It's good to have you. Yeah, no pressure. Again, feel free to jump in at any point if you'd like to, but always, you know, no pressure, open discussion and all that. Now my cat has shown up, so he'll probably be making noise in the background.
Things like Minato says, is just that the jutsu makes him move too fast. So even after the dash, he's still fast.
Mm-hmm.
So even if the dash or running, it's still an imp. And it says at this point of time that he cannot react because the jutsu is imperfect. But I think adult Kakashi have perfected the Raikiri.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So,
And I think well, also when Kakashi gets the Sharingan from Obito, he says like, Obito, you helped me complete my jutsu too, right? So I think he's referring to the fact that the Sharingan is letting him account for that difference, right? It's Obito kind of working with him. So let's see if we can go back to that 1 second. Yeah, Obito, you helped me perfect my jutsu. Obviously, like he gets better at it as an adult. I'm not saying that like this is the peak strength or AP of the Raikiri for sure. But he now seems to think that he's overcome like the disadvantage of it, I think. Oh,
yes,
although
due to the Sharingan.
yeah, exactly. That makes sense. I think where I'm kind of finding the like room for open, what can I say? I think there's some still room for interpretation. And my interpretation is that the Raikiri itself, I know I'm repeating myself now, so we can kind of move on if you like. But the Raikiri itself is not just the like the application of lightning chakra to your hand. It's not just like the molding of chakra and gathering it in your hand and then applying the shape and nature transformation to it. It's also the physical motion of you running and stabbing. And Okay, well. Okay, I'm trying to find a way to kind of consolidate the different perspectives here. And I guess you could say that maybe the speed that Kakashi puts into the Raikiri thrust and all that, he's going to be using chakra to increase his speed and really go all out, like at max, like a drag race car or something like that, where it's just you know, going at full tilt. And in doing that, he's that becomes part of the jutsu itself. So it's not just Kakashi's normal movement speed. He is moving faster than he normally would in his like normal combat speed or normal movement speed. But he's doing that not because like lightning flowing through his body makes his synapses fire and he's just like moving forward like a lightning bolt, or like Sonic the Hedgehog doing a dash or something like that. But he is using whatever methods that he uses, like putting more chakra into his legs or whatever, to dash as fast as possible to then be able to deliver the lightning spear attack that he's doing. And all of that put together, the physical movement plus the lightning, is a technique that is called together the Raikiri. And the danger of doing that is that if you're putting all of your focus and attention on one target and just dashing straight towards it and not focusing on what's happening around you, then you're vulnerable to getting counterattacked. Unless you're able to completely speed blitz your opponent, I guess then it wouldn't matter. So I guess the implication here is that Kakashi should not expect that he's going to be like Minato, like teleporting around the battlefield and shit like that. He needs to actually physically close the distance between himself and his opponents, and he has to be fast enough to do that so that he can then deliver the Raikiri's payload or whatever you want to call it. And that would, assuming that Kakashi is at full speed when he starts to dash past Hidan, then that would still, allow for your interpretation, Kakuzu and Holidays, about it being like a feat for Kakuzu, but also it would add that additional like clarification of just my position is still that there's two parts to the Raikiri, and one doesn't necessarily boost the other. They both have to be performed together effectively in order to work in combat. Does that all make sense?
Okay, but a question. You said the Raikiri boost Kakashi because he used a lot of chakra, so it amps his stats, right?
No, I don't think that that's the case.
Okay.
Just my interpretation. I need to research it some more, but I think it's more like if you have a spear, and you want to be able to deliver as much power, or yeah, like I don't, have you played Armored Core 6 or any of the Armored Core games?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, there's it's okay. There's a weapon in it that's called the pile bunker. That's basically, if you played Bloodborne, there's a weapon in that called the stake driver, which is similar to. It's basically like this big I don't know, like steam powered spike thing in your hand, and it's very very powerful. If you get close to someone, it like drives the spike using this like really powerful machine thing, and it does a lot of damage, but you have to like wind up with it. It takes like quite a while to wind it up, and then your character dashes forward. And once you're dashing, you can't really dodge, right? Because you've pushed off the ground and you're lunging forward, and you're committing your like body's like center of gravity and inertia and everything to this forward thrust. If somebody manages to see you coming and dodge out of the way, that thrust is just going to go right forward into open air, and then you're going to be vulnerable because you've like thrown yourself forward. So I think that's what it's saying about the Raikiri.
Yeah, to me, it's correct for the young Kakashi, but not the adult.
Do you think what's the difference in your opinion about the adult Kakashi then?
Uh, Minato says all of those things to young Kakashi because he have all this bad feature of his jutsu because it's still imperfect, while adult Kakashi perfected it. So he should prevent that. But it's still correct that he have a lesser time to react because he's in a point blank, let's say, very close to Kakuzu, so you have less time to react. But,
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I want to just like take some time on my own to learn, like to read more like data book statements and stuff about the Raikiri. But I think you've made some good points. I just need to go research it some more, I guess. Oh, Mr. Narrative says, "Hey, I'm gonna head back out. May join later." Hey, yeah, no worries, dude. Feel free to hop in at any time. Like if you ever see that the VC is open and you just want to jump in and chat, feel free. If you send me a message in the text chat before as a general thing, that'd be great because it just gives me a heads up, so that I don't get like jump scared by the audio or whatever. But that's totally fine. I hope you have a good day. I think I'll take a moment and like go get some more water and go to the bathroom real quick. So I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
okay.
Okay. Oh wow. The chat window got all messed up. What the hell? Okay, sorry for the disruption there. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with the window, but I think I figured it out. Just need to reformat it real quick. OBS is so useful for this sort of thing. Okay. Not perfect, but will do for now so I don't spend too much time on it. Okay. Okay, there we go. Right. Yeah, so I am good to keep going with the Kakuzu arguments or like just reacting to the video or whatever. But is there anything else you wanted to talk about beforehand? Also, I would be curious. I think you said you worked on the script for this like the brutal honesty video, right? Like, I'd be curious to hear about what your experience was like, and if you want to share, like no pressure, and what parts you worked on or are most proud of or anything.
So basically, he formed a group like we were 4 people, and he had all the script already. It's just that we helped him to find the scans,
Mm-hmm.
basically,
Okay, gotcha.
or the data books, things like that.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, you've been really great at being able to like reference various parts of the series and pull up like scans and references for our conversation. So I really appreciate that. Just to reiterate that. Yeah. So I guess if it's unless there's anything else you want to go over, I'll just like go back to the video and keep commenting on that. I think, but yeah, but like feel free to interrupt or chime in if you want to at any point. My main goal for today was basically just to talk a little bit about speed scaling, which I think we've had or speed blitzing, which I think we've been able to do with a pretty good overview, pretty good amount of thoroughness. So thanks for everybody who contributed to that and shared your thoughts and your like references and all that. As for the video itself, really this kind of came out of me just hearing the statement that Kakuzu was consistently blitzing Kakashi. I think the fight is, I mean, like at the end of the day, we should just go with whatever makes the most sense and whatever is the most accurate. But my opinion on it anyway is that it's more interesting to just evaluate the fight in terms of their outpacing one another rather than to just say like, okay, well, you know, if I were to make the argument, for example, that Kakashi here blitzed Kakuzu, and because he's capable of blitzing Akatsuki members, and Akatsuki members are capable of, you know, defeating Biju, that means that Kakashi can blitz all the Biju. I think you would find that would be probably not the best argument, right? And it would also just kind of make the whole like debate around the topic kind of boring. Even if I was right, to just be like, yeah, well, Kakashi, since he can blitz Akatsuki members, he can just like delete anybody, and he just like wins by default. It just doesn't make for a very interesting discussion. So my two goals were A, to actually figure out what the definition is and see if the definition applies, and then 2, to talk about how the concept of blitzing kind of fits in with the style of fight over the course of the series. But that being said, let's just pick up. I think this is where we left off last time. Probably just going to let it play for a couple minutes and then pick up once I have something to nitpick or be upset about.
Existed when he made that statement, and the Raikiri pierced him not only because of power, but also because it exploited the weakness that Earth style has, the lightning style.
Yeah, I think we talked about this briefly last time. The idea being that the Raikiri did get through his Diamond Morph as a result of the typing nature release advantage that it had. But then also, he still has to get through Kakuzu's base durability, or like the durability of his tentacles and all that. So it's worth talking about, like investigating, I guess, what Kakuzu's other durability feats are. Unfortunately, we don't have too many examples of Kakuzu getting hurt in base to really go off of, which is why I tried to go on that whole thing about the Raikiri's maximum AP and try to see if we could find something out that way.
The reason this is impressive is because Kakuzu has
Well, the Raikiri can cut anything through Kakuzu. We've seen the Diamond Morph, and Diamond Morph is better than his base durability. And when Kakuzu is in the version 2 states, when he captures Naruto, he's able to cut the tentacles with the lightning blade as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
yeah, I think it's go ahead.
But I don't know with the giant tentacles if you can cut them instantly. But,
Oh, you mean like when he goes into his like long range mode and his like at the end of the fight? Yeah.
Yes, because he gains even more chakra, so I don't know, and it's thicker. So
yeah,
maybe,
I think
but
it might be kind of similar to how we were talking about the fact that he's able to pierce through the Asura path's chest, but he's not able to go through the entire thing. So he's clearly, like, the Raikiri clearly has the AP to at least, you know, pierce through the material. But that doesn't mean that if he encounters a whole bunch of the material and it's super dense and super packed together, that it would work. So Kakashi, in other words, Kakashi could probably like pierce through a steel plate, you know, or like a steel sheet or something with the Raikiri. But if it's just a solid steel cube that is like super dense and the size of a person or something like that, he might not be able to get all the way through. Same thing with Kakuzu's tentacles over here. As you mentioned, he can slice through them with the Raikiri, but if there's a whole bunch of them, there's more of them, they're denser, and there's more chakra flowing through them, there's not a guarantee he'd be able to just, like, cut. Like, I don't think he can just run up to, like, final form Kakuzu and just, like, slice him in half or anything like that. That seems kind of silly. Right? Like, he can cut the arms over here, but he might not be able to slice through his entire body. That's probably fair to say.
Likely seen Biju bombs and things of that nature due to fighting multiple Biju and Jinchuriki.
Yeah, I know that like we've talked about this before, but in terms of making a video analyzing the two characters, I would say if you're going to reference multiple Biju and Jinchuriki, you should specify what those are. And I know that like we in this group know that in the anime they fought against Chome, the Seven Tails, right? But again, if you're bringing in anime feats, that changes the nature of the discussion. And I find this continuous like repeating of the phrase like fought multiple Biju and Jinchuriki to be a bit misleading, because we don't like actually see those depicted, and we don't have like feats or any real like meaningful discussion about that supposed fight, right?
There's actually evidence to suggest this in the aftermath of the Yugito fight. As you can see in the background, a major
we talked
part of
about
the
this
mountain
last
was
time as well.
destroyed, and the only jutsu in the Biju's arsenal that has been shown capable of destroying this much area was the Biju bomb.
Actually, sorry, I'm gonna take off the soundtrack because I think it's just getting in the way of the video.
Yugito's fireball was only able to destroy the compound she trapped Kakuzu and Hidan in.
Okay, so this is something that I there's a little bit of nuance here that I think is important to address. We only saw Yugito blow up the compound with her fireball. That does not mean that Yugito's fireball is only capable of blowing up the compound. In other words, the feat that we saw, I don't know what the term for this, like if it's a logical fallacy or something like that, but the maximum feat that we saw might not actually like necessarily be the maximum feat of the thing itself. Now, for the purposes of a debate, you know, if I want to say that Yugito's fireball can like basically has no anti-feats and therefore it could scale wherever I want it to, and then you ask me, well, what's your evidence for that? And I'm like, well, it blew up this compound, so it could probably blow up other things too. Obviously that wouldn't work, right? Like I'd have to provide you with a maximum destructive capacity feat for the fireball. And as far as we can tell, the biggest one, the best one that we have is this compound, because that's the only one that we see for sure. But that doesn't mean, A, that is the upper limit of the fireball, and B, more to the point, we don't actually have a calc for the size of the compound, right? Maybe it probably wouldn't be too hard to do. I'm not saying that this makes Yugito multi-continental or anything, but if we were in a debate, I think it would be reasonable to say, okay, if you're going to present this fireball feat for this compound, provide some kind of a measurement of the area of it, try to include the underground portion of it, and then try to figure out, like, is it reasonable to assume that the building is like made of stone or brick or whatever, and then put that all together and say, okay, like this is the feat that we see for the fireball, and then you establish what Yukito's minimum destructive capability feat is for that fireball, and then you can go from there. I just don't think it's fair to say that like this is its maximum capacity because this is the only thing that we see based on that. In the same way that it would be kind of dishonest to say that like Kakashi could only kill Kakuzu or somebody of Kakuzu's strength with a Raikiri, because you know, up to that point in the series, right, we've only seen Kakashi kill Kakuzu with the Raikiri. That was the strongest person he killed, so he can't kill anyone stronger. That wouldn't be very honest. What we could say is that we can't assume that Kakashi could kill anybody stronger than him because we don't see the evidence for that. But we couldn't honestly say that, like, well, nope, Kakashi's maximum Raikiri AP is just Kakasu, right? That doesn't quite work. Oh, the Egg Prophet. Hey, welcome back. He says, I am back since that little break. Did I miss anything? Not too much. We continued talking about... my dog showed up just now. Hi, puppy. We continued talking about the, like, speed blitzing and stuff like that, but we also talked a bit about the Raikiri. We were trying to figure out if the Raikiri actually gives you a speed boost per se, or if it's just a really fast attack in and of itself. I'm still a bit skeptical about it. I'm not sure. But I think, Kakuzu and Holidays, feel free to interrupt me. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think your argument was that, like, Kakashi should have been able to perceive, Kakashi was moving as fast as possible with the Raikiri speed boost, and he had his, like, highest level of perception with the Sharingan, and Kakuzu still managed to, like, at least perception blitz him with his kick, so that scales him above Kakashi's, like, highest, like, fastest form with the highest perception, something like that.
Yes, and if I want to reinforce this, when a character amp his stats, it's also boost the reaction speed. For example, the Raikage with the lightning cloak amp
Yep.
his speed, his reaction speed. It's stated by Shi, and
Right.
because it wouldn't make sense to have an attack faster that you can perceive.
It's true. Although, well, to your point, and this will come up in our discussion about KCM Naruto's durability. There is that thing where KCM Naruto, when he's still learning to use like Kurama's chakra, winds up like running himself into a wall and getting his foot stuck. So that's, to your point, you don't want to do things that you yourself are incapable of, like, perceiving the motion of, right? It puts you at a big disadvantage if it doesn't go well.
Yes, and I want to help you with the argument of Matatabi's fireball.
Mm-hmm.
The maximum output of the fireball cannot be only this building, because the three of them are in the stairwell. They are underground, and
Yeah.
despite underground, it blew up the building.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I were in a yeah, and it's like, how deep is this underground? How much area is there under here, right? So yeah, if I wanted to argue this in a debate, like if I wanted to argue for Matatabi's feat here, what I feel like I should do is I should bring some sort of calc that says, here's the area of the space, and here is the material it's made out of, and then based on the explosion, we could put it at, like, multi-city block level or island level, or however, probably not island level, but, however high it gets to. And then we can kind of go from there. And then Noodles was talking about the like DC feats of the fucking Biju bomb, so the Bijudama, and then we could look at, like, okay, well, what are those Bijudama been calced at, and then we can compare the two. And you might find that it is the case that the Bijudama are just, like, way bigger and more powerful than Matatabi's fire breath. That's probably true. I just think that, like, there's some more homework that we would need to do, so to speak, to really to prove the point, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And I think the underground is quite big, quite deep, because it can fit a Biju. So
That's a good point too. Yeah.
the fireball is impressive to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and you were the one who told me that I think, right, that, like, it's melting the stone. Like, you pointed out that it was melting the stone that Hidan was hiding behind. So, yeah, I think it's potentially undervalued. I mean, like, I could pull up the scan if you want, but I think maybe you remember when Killer Bee and Naruto are running away from Yugito when she's in Edo Tensei. She fires her rodent hairballs, which, I mean, obviously there's a difference between AP and DC, but they look way smaller and way less threatening than the giant fucking fireball coming out of Matatabi's mouth. But Killer Bee still says like, oh shit, we have to get away from those, and like pulls Naruto away and tries to get him away. So if we assume that KCM Naruto is pretty pretty durable because he has Kurama's chakra, and Killer Bee looks at these rodent hairballs and says, hey, this is a threat to both myself, like the strongest Jinchuriki arguably in the world at the moment, and also like my protege, who's coming up in strength pretty strong, pretty quickly. That puts a high degree of emphasis on like Yukito's like fire ability overall, and then you scale that up to her full Biju form. Yeah, I think it's worth taking the attack seriously. And all of this is just to say that, like, look, we looked at the previously at what Killer Bee's Bijudama did to the environment during the Sasuke fight, like the heavy or Zataka Sasuke fight. And the pattern of destruction on the stone structures in the back looked very similar. So I don't necessarily have a problem with the idea that Maratabi used a Bijudama over the course of this fight. I just think it would be important to actually scale the size and impact of that specific Bijudama, and also not to just assume that the fireball couldn't do it without like using some form of calc or some sort of actual evidence, basically. Because what if
want to
go ahead.
I want to point something. It can mean something or not. Can you go back where when Idan is hiding behind the rock and we see the two tails?
Mm-hmm. This one? Oh, this one.
Right, there's a bit of delay. I don't know.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm on.
Yeah.
I gotta
yeah,
fix
this
the
one,
latency of the stream. My bad.
Yes, it's yeah. When we see the two tails, we can see that the paw is still underground even after the attack of the fireball, and so she keeps Kakuzu under.
Oh yeah.
To me, it's my perspective of seeing things.
Yeah, I can see
Like
that.
even after attacking Kakuzu, even after the fireball, the paw is still underground.
Okay.
It can mean she have to subdue him, or because he can go back. I don't know. It's a headcanon, but why is she in this stance if Kakuzu cannot bear a Biju attack physically? It's like she
Oh, I see what
forced
you're
him
saying.
to
You're
not
saying
go
that
back.
like she thinks that he could potentially survive the fireball, so she's not like wasting her energy on him, but she's keeping him like pressed underground until she deals with Hidan, something like that.
Yeah, for example.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I
Or
like the
because you
idea.
have,
Go ahead.
or because you have enough force to go back
Yep.
to the battlefield.
I'm not sure. I have to think about that. I like the interpretation. I think it's creative. I think intuitively, maybe I'm just repeating what you're saying. I'm not sure, but like it seems to me that Maratabi pressed Kakazu down into the ground, right? That's pretty clear. But then I guess one way to look at it is that Kakazu is not able to physically, using his lifting strength or whatever, like push Maratabi back up off of him. This is just headcanon. There's no evidence really to support this, but I always thought that maybe Kakazu just did what he did during the Kakashi fight, and he just decided to play dead and then let Yukito go after Hidan, and then get back up and then surprise attack her essentially after the fact. But
I think if he played that with, which to me wouldn't apply to his personality, why would Matatabi would pressure a dead body?
just because she happens to be standing on it, like I think she just like presses him down and then like immediately turns around and just like shoots the fireball at Hidan. I don't know if she's thinking that she needs to keep the dead body pressed down. But if he is alive, then that would support your position because he'd probably be struggling and trying to get out of the ground, right? I mean, alive, quote unquote alive, like not playing dead is what I mean.
Yes, because I I have an example. Like if you crush an ant, it's bad. Okay, it's very bad. If you crush an ant, you won't stay quite some time on it. You will just keep walking because it's dead.
Yeah.
Why after the post strike? Why after the fireball? Why all the destruction it causes? She still have this stance where it seems like she still pushes him down.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think my own like personal interpretation could be that Maratabi is also what do you call it? Like pressing down on the hang on, how do I explain? I don't know why my words are just blanking right now. Yeah, so Maratabi is kind of crouching down in a menacing stance. And I don't know if there's probably going to be a delay on stream right now, but uh like intuitively it just kind of feels to me like it's just like a cat being ready to pounce. Um I don't know that I would have I wouldn't have personally come to this conclusion. Like I don't think it feels to me like Maratabi is actively, like for example, you pointed out before that when Kakashi tries to get up off the ground, after Kakuzu kicks him, that Kakashi has like little strain lines like around him, like kind of indicating that he's like straining with his muscles. I'm not really seeing that. I'm not seeing Maratabi like looking down or indicating that he/they are like struggling or like actively working to keep Kakuzu down. And it's technically, whatever, this is a nitpick, but like it's technically possible that Maratabi also like has moved a little bit and is just like still at a distance from Hidan. But I do like your idea because if anything, it just makes Kakuzu feel like more of an active like threat and participant in the fight. That he's like still under there struggling with Maratabi's paw and like giving her enough pressure that she needs to, constantly be aware of what he's doing.
Mm. Because if you compare this panel when she fires the jutsu,
Yep.
and later on it seems she doesn't really move. She doesn't move.
Yeah,
She just keeps digging the other one in the ground.
that's true. It does seem like, yeah, because you can kind of see the doors, like the doorways where they were before. It could be. Yeah, I don't really feel the need to like argue the point too much. I think it's a creative interpretation.
Yeah, it's interpretation,
Yeah.
of course.
No, yeah, but
I
that's
like
a
it.
good one. Yeah, I like the fact that it gives Kakuzu like more to do in the fight, as well. Like it just like increases the relationship between him and Yugito. It's kind of cool. Wouldn't it be
Okay.
cool if like they had a rematch with Yugito later on or like they fought alongside some of the like Edo Jinchuriki or something like that, so they got a chance to like recapitulate like, hey, didn't you fucking kill me like Mu did with
Gengetsu.
Gengetsu, yeah, thank you. You can tell I'm getting a little tired. I can't remember. What's that guy who has like the fox in him and he's like the main character and he has a brother or like a guy he thinks is like a brother and he's got like those special eyes and they fight. Maybe you know who I'm talking about.
No. No, I don't.
Naruto expert over here.
Yeah. Even when Yugito is kinda crucified, let's say that.
Mm-hmm.
When I read it, it's like who put her in this position?
True.
Because Idan is on the ground doing his ritual. To me, it's just like Kakuzu, like he's in a hammer, and he put her in the wall.
It could be. I like that interpretation. I think my interpretation was just that, well, like I think multiple interpretations are totally fair because we don't really see what happens off screen. But what I could say is that like Hidan did the ritual, because he doesn't impale himself like this necessarily while he's doing the smaller summoning circle in like ritual circle in combat. So he could have done the smaller circle and then like injured himself to wound Yukito, and then after that like put her up on the wall to hold her in place while he then does the longer like ritual after the fact, something like that.
But it could be true, but just we don't have much physical strength evidence from Ida
It's true, yeah.
to do so. And actually, he even said he couldn't hit her, he couldn't tag her in base.
True.
So I don't really see that coming. But I want to point out Yugito's durability in that, because it seems like Idan is piercing the heart, and she's still alive somehow.
Oh yeah. He's well. I wonder if this like ritual circle is different from the one that he's standing on. I mean, it looks like the same symbol, but maybe, yeah. Like there's the ritual that he does like when he's actively in combat and like fighting somebody, but then there's this one afterwards where he has to sit still for 30 minutes, and so maybe he didn't actually maybe this one specifically is more his ritual connecting with Jashin and not the same ritual that's hurting her. So like at this point he's disconnected the blood ritual from her. Yeah, because you see he's got the like this is sort of no, maybe you're right, because when his skin is like dark like this with the white lines, that's when his ritual is active and he's actively hurting Yukito. So if that's the case, if we're just seeing this fade away now, then that means that this should have hurt Yukito, yeah. So
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think you got a good point there. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, and by the way, like the way that I like explore this stuff is I first start by looking at all of the possible negatives or no's, and then trying to like come back around to see if the thing works. So it's not me like trying to nitpick your ideas or shoot them down. I'm really just trying to say like, okay, that's a cool interpretation. Now let's think about any possible other ones and then check those and then come back. But I think in this case it makes a lot of sense.
And I think Idan stabbed her a lot because there's a lot of blood in the wall.
Yep.
So all of this stuff and the heart piercing for 30 minutes, yeah, quite long.
It's pretty brutal, yeah. Do you think this? Yeah, it looks like blood is like flowing down the wall behind her too in these lines. It's pretty brutal. Almost looks like there's a symbol or something behind her too.
I think it's just the blood.
Yeah, I think so. Just the splatter. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna go for a little bit. I'll try and do at least 1 minute every stream. Maybe by next year we'll get to the end.
Shikaku's air bullets did not vaporize mountains.
Oh, wait, yeah, so.
She trapped Kakuzu and Hidan in. Shikaku's air bullets did not vaporize mountains.
Again, like, that's one of those kind of statements that I find, if not dishonest, then at least, like, kind of misleading. Because, yes, Shikaku's air bullets did not vaporize mountains, but that's kind of a non sequitur, right? They weren't aimed at mountains, so we didn't see whether or not they would be capable of breaking mountains apart. The term vaporization is also, as we've talked about before, a specific tier of power, right? So I don't know that it's probably the case that Maratabi's fire breath is vaporizing some of the rock, because I mean it's liquefying it anyway. So it's possible. It could be the case that Biju bombs can vaporize things. But again, like, we would actually, in my opinion, need to see that, like, see an actual calc like demonstrating that the surrounding mountains or village or whatever is actually turning to vapor, so that we can prove that it's a vaporization feat.
I might have an argument. When after the fireball, you can see that the shape of the area changed totally.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's also the lava thing with Idan.
Yeah, so So yeah, so the fireball itself, being able to melt the rock, that would count as like liquefying the rock, and I'm not sure if it would count like all the way as turning it to vapor, because that would imply even more heat going into it. It's possible though, but as for this area over here as well, it looks like we're seeing fragments and little pieces of the rock. It's probably going to be delayed on stream, but you'll see in a second that like
Yeah,
there's little particulates. Oh, okay, cool. That are falling off of the rock over here. So again, like it is possible that the Biju bomb or that the fireball attack or whatever was used vaporized everything here in this like C-shaped pattern. But the fact that the parts of it are still like kind of crumbling and falling off makes me doubt that. And at the end of the day, I don't feel like we have
Mhm.
a direct evidence that that was the case, that it was vaporization.
I was talking about the underground area, not this
Oh,
one.
the underground. Okay, this with
Uh,
the like here.
yeah, after the fireball.
Okay. Right here.
Compare the shape of the area before the fire and at this moment.
Okay, let me take a look
She,
up there.
like she blew up. She changed everything.
Yeah, that's true. But again, like you can see that the rocks are kind of like fragmenting and splintering. So that would be probably violent fragmentation. I don't know if it would be vaporization though. Pulverization, sure.
Because there are still some rocks, but maybe all the rest is gone because of the heat or the blast.
It could be. And like look, if we're just using the term vaporization to mean like totally fucked up and destroyed in a big way, and we're not using like the very specific power scaling term or whatever, then I get it. Like it is true that we didn't see the air bullets hit a mountain and like blast the fuck out of a mountain, so to speak. If we're using the specific power scaling terms, though, like vaporization is it like claiming that something vaporized something else is a specific claim that you would need to demonstrate because it puts you in a certain like level of energy output, and it's possible here, but like what's happening here is fragmentation, right? There's probably some pulverization as well to the smaller parts of the building. But it's not like a big like spirit or like a Kamehameha or something that just like reduces the entire area into a mist. It's just breaking everything apart. So maybe this stuff over here, maybe some of the rocks were vaporized that took the direct hit from the fire breath, but then this stuff over here would not be vaporization. Really,
Okay.
the point that maybe there is a way actually to calc um a vaporization feat for this, and that would be cool. Like I'd be eager to see it genuinely. I think my objection here is, if I understand Noodle's argument correctly, I think he's saying that because because Shukaku, we don't see him doing a vaporization feat, and because to his mind we also don't see, or not just the vaporization feat, but like vaporizing mountains. That's the phrase he's using, right? So we didn't see Shukaku's air bullets perform a mountain level vaporization feat. We also didn't see that happen for Yukito's fireball, and we don't see it happen for any of the other Bichu out there. They don't seem to have any other like big explosive attacks that can do that. Therefore, the only thing that they have that can do that is a Biju bomb. Therefore, Yukito used a Biju bomb. And there's a bunch of assumptions that are kind of laid into that claim that I'm objecting to, because it just it's sort of failing to meet its burden of proof, in my opinion. I think it's kind of straying into argument from ignorance territory. Like we don't have any argument that we don't have any evidence that there's anything non-Biju bomb related that can do this. Here's my demonstrating that there's a lack of evidence, therefore it was a Biju bomb, instead of actually like demonstrating the Biju bomb, going through the calcs for all of those things, providing like size and density and mass, or size and mass calcs for these objects and these buildings and stuff like that. It could be that he is correct. There could be evidence to support his claim, but I don't feel like it was presented. I don't feel like it was like adequately proven, basically. So my dog is starting to act up and might need a walk. I think I might end the stream a little bit early. Um and then we can kind of pick up next time. I did take some time, and I'll take a little bit more time to talk about to think about KCM Naruto's durability, and then maybe we can start that off on the next stream. And then just make that like the topic today was speed blitzing, and the topic next time can start off to be like KCM durability. We can kind of go from there. Is there any last thoughts you want to share before I head out for the afternoon?
Um, just I want to explain how I see the things between Kakashi and Kakuzu.
Okay.
To me, the first thing, so the kick, to me, is just a perception blitz. To
Okay.
me, because of what I've already said earlier. The
Sure.
second time is when Kakuzu fuses his mask and captures Kakashi. To
Mhm.
me, it's more a battle IQ than speed. Even though speed is in it, it's more a battle IQ because he used the art as a distraction and forced Kakashi to be mid-air, so he cannot dodge Kakuzu's assault. So he captured him.
Yeah, that seems
So,
fair.
so we have perception blitz, battle IQ difference, and the last one is when he captures him with his tentacles. To me, right there is a speed blitz because Kakashi should have his quote unquote precognition activated because he's facing him. He knows what he's capable of. If he even said he's the main threat compared to Hidan. Kakashi is in front of him, he sees him, and he's instantly grabbed because of Kakuzu's attack speed in Jungle states too.
Mhm.
So that's how I see things. Perception blitz, then battle IQ, then speed blitz.
Okay. I think that makes a lot of sense. I'll have to think more about that last one because I think that there might be some additional considerations like Kakashi might be fatigued maybe or something like that. So I'll want to look into that a little bit more, but I think that's overall like a pretty fair assessment of those feats. Um
Mm,
and sorry, did you mention the one where was that the one that you were saying was battle IQ when Kakashi like counters Kakuzu's fire wind enhanced fire, and then Kakuzu comes in from under him and grabs him with the tentacles? Was that
yes,
the battle IQ one?
yes.
Yeah, okay, I would agree with that as well. Yep. Um
Um, if you want to say Kakashi is fatigued, you have to quantify how, because
yeah,
he still wanted to use Kamui for a big jutsu.
true.
And even if he didn't use it later on, he was able to do two more Raikiri, and he didn't end up in the hospital as well.
This is true, yeah. Or I think he said I think there's a statement that kind of implies he might have been, but he got out quickly, or maybe he wasn't at all. Um, yeah, I will say that like I personally don't find like fatigue arguments that I think it's good if you can use them for emphasis. Like if I'm just making this up, right? But like if Pain beats Kakashi and Pain was fatigued, then the fact that he was fatigued makes it even more impressive. But unless like you said, you can kind of explain how the fatigue is actively affecting the fight. I think it just winds up being one of those things that people throw out in the middle of a debate and being like, oh, well, your feat doesn't count because your character was fatigued or something like that. And it kind of just derails things. So I bring it up more in terms of like, this is a potential variable that we would need to like maybe control for or like try to explain just to be thorough. But I don't think it like defeats your position necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but that's it.
Okay. Well, that was great, and I really appreciate the discussion. I think you brought up a lot of good points, and it was a lot of fun to kind of focus on the speed thing. Fun to hear your y'all's is whatever all of your takes on it, and yeah, it was really great. So I'm gonna head out in a moment. Just as a little heads up about the schedule of the stream and all that. Thursday night we're gonna be doing, I think, one more Dark Souls 2 stream. I haven't decided if it's gonna be Dark Souls 2 or Elden Ring yet, but I think it'll be DS2. And then next Sunday, again at the same time, I think this time frame seemed to work for everybody, so probably gonna plan to do it again at 2 p.m. And I am going to plan, I think, to start with a discussion of the KCM durability and then kind of go from there. I would also be willing to hear any other suggestions for topics, so feel free to leave them in the Discord or on the post or video comment, whatever. Other than that, yeah, but thank you very much for the chat, and I hope you have a great week. Good luck, Kakuzu and Holidays, with the move back home. I hope that the travel
thank you.
all goes okay, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye, everyone.
All right, bye bye.